Gentlemen, we're going to call tonight's meeting to order. I love it that our partners from the school board is here. Mr. Rowe, would you like to give the invocation tonight, sir?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for this moment in time. We thank you, Father, for allowing us to come together to conduct the business of Nottoway County. We thank you tonight for this board, for all those that are in attendance. We thank you, Father, that we live in a free land, and we thank you for your many blessings each and every day. Mindful of this season where we are remembering your death and suffering, pray, Father, that you continue to lead us, to guide us, and to protect us. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all would, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, y'all said that with some passion, too. Yeah. All right. Need to move to the approval of the agenda, but I know we've got some amendments.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Like to add on at the end of the meeting to go into closed session for a personnel issue. Also on J1, I would like we go to J1 and skip to J1 when the Virginia Department of Transportation, Ms. Bryan, is here for a quick discussion. And also under special presentations, if we could allow Ms. Walters to introduce us to a new staff member that she has just recently got on board.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, you said that fast and my fingers are right.
That's okay.
New employee.
Yeah.
That's on the special presentations.
Sir. And then we'll go to J1, and we'll lead you there when Ms. Bryan is under G1.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we'll
Gotcha.
bring it up. Okay.
J1 here. All right, and also
Closed session for personnel. That was the main one.
And y'all have the appropriate code for personnel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then under presentations tonight, board members as well, we are going to move Mrs. Barbara Briggan's presentation to a later date. And I think that's it. Was there any other amendments, board members? Okay, here and now I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, he ready to roll tonight. Love it. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Now I need approval of the minutes for February 22nd, 2024 work session.
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving on. We got to a special presentation. Mr. Buddy Hyde is going to bring this resolution and memorandum for Mr. Hunter Byers.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, staff, citizens, I'm probably going to need to get some assistance from you. I think you want to read. Do you want to read the resolution itself?
You can read it. We'll present, sir.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me give an overview real quick. Tonight, one of the resolutions that we're given is in memoriam, and this is the first line of duty death that's happened in many, many years in Nottoway County. Let me look at the resolution. So back in July 28th of last year, and we've been trying to get the family together and just have some time pass through with the board agendas to pick the right night to do this. So we have a framed resolution tonight to recognize the line of duty death for Hunter Byers, who was one of our medics on, one of our EMTs on one of the Nottoway emergency squads on July 28th, 2023. He died in the line of duty, cardiac related, while he was actually sitting in the ambulance. So this is something that we don't do very often and we don't want to do very often. I know we had Edgar Johnson back in 1962 in Blackstone Fire Department, and I believe this is the only one since 1962. So without any further ado, I want to have Chairman John Rourke come up and give us a hand. If we can have Scarlett Rakes who is Hunter's widow, will come up to present this to Ms. Rakes.
Yeah. Whereas Hunter C. Byers began his service to Nottoway County when he became a volunteer member of the Nottoway County Emergency Squad Incorporated on January 9th, 2009 as an EMS provider and continued to volunteer until January 25th, 2010. And whereas he continued to serve and began employment as a full-time career provider for the Nottoway County Emergency Squad Incorporated in July 2019. And whereas he became a field training officer for Nottoway County Emergency Squad Incorporated in March 2023, and whereas he was awarded the Employee of the Quarter recognition from Nottoway County Emergency Squad in April of 2023, and whereas he served many local communities as an emergency medical technician over 15 years, including service to the Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department, Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department, and Crew Volunteer Fire Department, and whereas he gave the ultimate sacrifice in this service on Friday, July 28th, 2023, as he died in the line of duty. We're all family here. Where he died in the line of duty while staffing an ambulance for the Nottoway County Emergency Squad Incorporated. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors does hereby express its profound appreciation for the contributions Hunter C. Byers made to Nottoway County, and be it further resolved that the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors directs a copy of this resolution be shared with the Fire and Emergency Medical Services agencies in Nottoway County, and be it further resolved that the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the citizens of Nottoway County, offers its sincerest condolences to the family of Hunter C. Byers, done this 21st day of March, 2024, by a unanimous board. Thank you. Hi. Yes, ma'am.
I guess we should try to stay on our page.
Thank you. It's never easy doing something like that, but our volunteers are the backbone and have been for the longest time in this county. The community, it would never be the same without that group of people. The heart and soul of a volunteer, you can't judge it.
Amen.
So again, we're sorry for your loss, but we're blessed to have had him.
Amen.
And thank you all. It's hard to move on from something like that.
Right, it is. We're going to ask Ms. Leanne to come up.
Yes, Leanne, you, Ms. Watrous.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me do a small part of my part at the beginning. I'm sure Angela may stay around for a little while, but I know that board meetings can go a little late.
No, they don't.
So I would like to introduce the board and Nottoway County as a whole to our new Victim Witness Director, Angela Cook. She comes to us from a career of service to her community, serving in both state and local law enforcement, and then more recently focusing on substance abuse prevention, working with both Crossroads and SAFE. And I can tell you from the time that she's already been with us, she has a passion for really helping the youth and the juveniles in our community. So I will give her a few minutes to say some words if she'd like. I didn't tell her she was going to have that opportunity, so my apologies. But please, everyone, give Angela a warm Nottoway welcome.
Hey, all right.
Thank you. Good afternoon to the board and to all of you, all your citizens. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve, and that is my purpose here, to serve the people of Nottoway County. Thank you for the opportunity to be amongst such wonderful people. This has been a welcome, a warm welcome coming to Nottoway County. And again, I just want to thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you and helping in any way I can the citizens of Nottoway County. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining our team. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going on.
see it in a minute. Do delegations.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do move to delegations from the public. And first is a guy I've just recently got to know. And forgive me, I know you're a war veteran, but I was trying to remember the branch you told me you served in.
Navy.
The Navy, that's right, okay.
Vietnam era.
Yes, sir, okay. Mr. Tommy Morse from WSVS Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight, sir.
Well, thank you for having me and let me say my piece and get out of here. I get pretty tired in the evening. I'm a cancer survivor, and well, I still have cancer. I'm still being treated, and that goes on for the rest of my life. But I doubt me. I come here on behalf of WSVS Radio. I came out of retirement about a year ago to help this station drag itself out of redlining every month. They were losing several $1,000s a year. Since then, we're breaking even now, so that's the good news. We're breaking even. But a little quick history. WSVS began broadcasting April 4th of 1947 on a frequency of 650 kilohertz. Formal dedication ceremonies were held on April 6th. And as you folks can see with the paperwork that I gave you there, April 6th is when we're having the get-together. Included transcribed speeches from government officials and broadcasts from the station studios in Crewe, Blackstone, and Farmville. The station was licensed to the Southern Virginia Broadcasting Company. We've been working really hard, guys, for the last year. I mean really hard. If you need to go by there and take a look at the place. It's all painted up and nice. The inside is as pristine as it was back in the day. The Flatt and Scruggs studio is still as it was when Flatt and Scruggs were here in the 1950s. They had friends here, and they ran away from Nashville and came here and stayed in Crewe for about 6 months. And they would play down there and record their music and send it back to Nashville, and then they would send it out to the nation. We've been having a number of Nashville artists as well as some Virginia artists play. We started the Saturday, it used to be called High Noon Hoedown. Now it's we term it the Afternoon Hoedown because it starts at 2 and goes from 2 to 3. And of course this time we'll have Mr. Dan Nicholson. He is a Nashville recording artist. He will be at WSVS Day, which is April 6th at 12 p.m. We're going to be cooking hamburgers and hot dogs, and if I can get my guy Wynn up at Tom's Meats to work with me, I'd like to have some oysters too. So we'll be grilling, and let's see, Pure Country is unveiling our historical marker. It's beautiful. This thing costs a lot of money. It's bronze, and it lists WSVS Radio as a national and state historical landmark. These are big things, fellas and ma'am. I lost my train of thought on that one. I'm having a little trouble with my sugar this
Yes, sir.
evening, and it's bothering me somewhat. Hot dogs, hamburgers, and as I said, and drinks. And the music will start at 2 o'clock, weather permitting. We're going to have it outside, broadcasting live too. We are, we've come into the new millennium. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and streaming live. Around the world. This little station was, I'd say, how can I put this? The trains were, they were the money. That's what brought all the money in. Station was the heartbeat of this town and this area. And somewhere along the line, it just got forgotten. And I just think that's really sad. So we're asking today for support, recognition. And I want y'all to come and see this place. I invite everybody out. Come and see the inside and how historical it still is, and how beautiful the outside is. And we're just getting started, really. We're going to do a lot of stuff. There's a back behind the building, between the building and the power transmitter. There's a big brick area that they used to cook. Have feasts back there, and got a couple trees growing out of it now, a couple saplings. We're changing that real soon. And the owners are out of town. One is in Florida. The father and the son is in Petersburg, and he's really liking what we've done with the place. And he said, next thing I want to do is revamp that barbecue pit out back so we can, he said, I want to cook lamb out there. Well, never done that before, but I'll give it a shot.
All right.
So, but yeah, I gave you guys,
Yes, sir.
you can show, maybe hold it up for the audience to see. That's the only one of color pictures that I brought of the landscaping. Landscaping was done by the farmer's daughters in Rice. I saw that. They appreciate, what we got going there again. So, well, we're just looking, maybe ideas help. I've been doing pretty good. I'm the salesperson there too, as well as the host of Coffee Chat. And I've sold 15 or 16 local businesses in the last few months, and we play their commercials every day.
All right, Mr. Morris, I know it's your first time here. I just want to let you know that normally we do a 5-minute presentation from each speaker.
I'm done.
Okay. I just was going to tell you if we could.
No, I've been here before.
Okay, all right.
It's been,
But,
it's been a couple years.
Sure.
Mr. Morris, I grew up with WSVS. WSVS was on the radio in my house when I grew up. I listened to Little Jody Rainwater forever.
My daddy knew.
And, that first thing happened in the morning was radio got turned on.
Right.
So I know exactly about WSVS, and it's meant a lot to the town of Crewe especially, and also to the county.
Yeah, sir. I think we've been forgotten, though. I come to plead with you guys to help me make it known again what's going on. Coffee Chat, I've built Coffee Chat back up. The phones ring off the hook every Tuesday and Thursday with folks calling in, and we give people news stories, and you have to listen in someday, Tuesday and Thursday, 11 a.m. So whatever you guys can do for us, I'm asking for help.
All right.
Just for recognition, and maybe send some advertisers our way or something. But to start with, everybody can come to WSVS Day. That's not working that day. I think we're going to end up having to, and this is for Daphne, Miss Daphne. I talked to the chief of police because I said we may end up parking on the side of the road because of limited parking.
You can talk to Ms. Payne in this week.
Huh?
And I don't mean to cut you off, sir, but we gotta move on. We gotta be
Okay, the chief told me that I had to have some kind of temporary permit from DOT, and he
That's,
said,
you can call the town office, they'll explain it.
no. Okay. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
To speak tonight. You all have a wonderful evening.
Sonny Abbott. Mr. Abbott, I know you're new to this too, but you may have heard me tell the gentleman it's a 5-minute.
Start your watch.
I couldn't even keep a straight face with that one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
members of the board, Mr. Bowen, Tonight, I stand before you again as a citizen and resident of Nottoway County. Now, I have one brief little question. Is the property reassessment complete? I met with one of those agents on January 29th, spent approximately 15 minutes, and asked several questions. Briefly, I provided documentation, part of the public record, and data from properties reassessed by this same organization that were used as comps when I had my property refinanced in July of 2021. There was a considerable difference in the range. It ranged from $71,000 difference to in excess of $200,000 difference. I simply asked what would have to be done to those specific properties that were currently assessed, what would be done considerably to make them comparable to mine. Well, as I departed the 15-minute meeting, I was told it would take 30 days to get a response. Well, I'm still waiting for that response. I seriously doubt it's going to be forthcoming. Now, I've been working with the Commissioner of the Revenue because I figured out updates would get to them before it get to the general public. And I wasn't sure if that person felt that I was questioning the integrity or quality of their work. Now, visiting the Commissioner of the Revenue just recently on a completely different matter, I learned that my reassessment had been adjusted. Originally, my property was assessed at $505,300. Now it's assessed at $519,500. At that moment, I figured my 15-minute meeting was coming back to haunt me. The building permit for the construction of my home was taken out in late 2007, with construction starting and completing in 2008. The stable, well, I call it a barn, was built in 2007, because horses are more important than the husband who lives there. Apparently, my basement, or the lower level, has grown, and the barn has expanded. The property was subject to assessment at completion of construction and reassessed in 2012, 2018, and now in 2024. The original footprint hasn't changed a bit. So ask yourself, what changed? And it's either poor performance, or the quality of work, or my questioning their veracity. Now, I mention this tonight just to keep you informed as to the value of the work associated with that contractor. I look forward to asking the appeals board similar questions. I believe integrity and effective workmanship matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. Do we have any information on their
I
complaints?
believe the Equalization Board had some training the other
They
day,
did.
They had training Tuesday, I believe. They were with Colonel Shaver, so.
and they'll start making
I think it's April
appointments.
1st.
And then they'll set, people will set up, citizens will set up meetings.
I
with
think it's April 1st, starting April 1st.
All right, we're moving on to the public hearings. Returning request for Erican. Mr. Zodi?
Good evening. What we have tonight is a request for rezoning at the Cherry Tree Crossing area, Jamestown Road. The Planning Commission heard this in January on the 16th. I heard from no member of the public, either email, phone call, or in-house visit. On tonight's meeting, I did. It was from a gentleman who lives across the road, Mr. Alfred Brown, and he was just asking what it's going to do to the community. I go, well, it's kind of an adaptive reuse because the previous use was Shelton's Towing, and we're talking 2 parcels. And my feeling about it was, we want to do adaptive reuse for sites. We want to create jobs. And this is a site, I think that's an excellent location for metal fabrication. This request is going from conservation to light industrial, which would allow the metal fabrication. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Smythe mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting in January, it might create, I think, 8 to 15 jobs or so. What they're going to do in the first part is to just set up metal fabrication storage on the site, and then eventually they'll have actual production. Again, we have not heard from any of the neighbors except Mr. Brown, who lives across 460 on Bible Road in 460, and he supports it because he's thinking about down the road when he gives his kids, turns over his land. The Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 8-0, and VDOT did send a comment letter. I believe that's attached here in your report. And staff reviewed the comments with the members. Virginia Department of Health also submitted a request that we ensure that the septic is clean, it's up to date. And that's really it. The comprehensive plan for this area is conservation residential, but less than a mile away, we have light industrial future land use. This is not a spot zone, in my opinion. This is consistent with the development of the adjacent property on the other side of the railroad tracks and on the current site. And professionally, I want to say that we really need to start looking at these pre-existing non-conforming sites or what have you, and utilize those as an opportunity to stimulate development. And if that calls for a rezone, so be it. Okay.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Zodi. All right, board members, we'll take any questions of Mr. Zodi after the public hearing. Right now, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I so move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Public hearing is open. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak for or against this zoning request? Can you step up, sir? If you don't mind, could you please say your name?
My name is Sid Smythe from Lunenburg County with Long and Foster Real Estate.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Arakan, and I hope I'm not destroying his name. He's Turkish, very fine gentleman. He has already purchased the property. The property was used as for junk cars. Mr. Arakan has a metal fabrication business. As Mr. Zodi mentioned, his business is growing very rapidly. He's located right now in Sterling, Virginia. He wants to expand down into North Carolina, Tidewater area. And so he is looking to have a location in Southside Virginia. Right now it'll be storage, but his plan is in the future to build a property, about a 10,000 square foot building on the property and do some fabrication, employ about 12, 15 people. It'll be a daytime operation, and I think it's a real good fit for where it's located right there next to the railroad track. So I'd appreciate if y'all would support this tonight for him. He's ready to crank up his business.
Okay. Board members, anybody got any questions for Mr. Smythe? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak for or against the rezoning request before the public hearing right at this time? Okay. Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing, please.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Zodi, I do have one quick question for you. Mr. Smythe has mentioned that in the future, building a 10,000 square foot building on that site there, does that will he be able to meet all the setbacks in that area?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Given the site, yes, sir.
Okay.
And staff will do everything they can within the regulations to make sure that happens.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. Board members, any discussion y'all wish to have, or anyone wish to make a motion for this?
I'd like to remind the board that there's going to be a quarry that goes in not far from here, I believe. Didn't crew approve a quarry? Mm-hmm. Okay, that line is not very far from this. So this use is not going to bother anybody more than that quarry.
All right. Anybody else? Does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, buddy. All right, we got presentations. Moving on with Robinson Farmer Cox Audit.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jay. I'm a CPA with Robinson Farmer Cox and the partner in charge of the audit for Nottoway County. Many of you may have known Paul Lee in the past. Paul Lee is semi-retired now, and I have taken his spot.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
I have given you all my notes because I tend to go pretty quickly with these reports. If you want to follow on my notes, but of course, if you have any questions at any time, please interrupt me and I'll try to answer them.
Okay.
I'll start with page 1, best place to start, the audit opinion. We have given the county an unmodified opinion, which means this is the best opinion that we can give. It's stating that the financial statements are materially correct. Go on to page 11. This is Exhibit 1. This is a balance sheet of the county on an accrual basis. I usually tell boards this isn't very helpful for you all, simply the fact that it includes adjustments made by the state for things like VRS and OPEB. With that being said, the total net position for the government activities was about $3.8 million, which is an increase of about $3.1 million from the prior year. The next page, Exhibit 2, again, this is the income statement on an accrual basis. This does include, again, those adjustments made by the state for VRS and OPEB. Government activities net income was $3.3 million. Again, that's essentially the county's net income on an accrual basis. Page 13, which is Exhibit 3. This is a little bit better for everybody to look at. This is the county's balance sheet on a modified accrual basis. This is where you have a lot more leeway to be able to adjust things that you all have control over. The balance sheet at the end of the year was the fund balance, was $26 million compared to $23 million at the prior year. So it's an increase of about $3.5 million. And your unassigned fund balance is up $20.4 million, or is $20.4 million, up from $13.1 million from the prior year. Cash did go down a little bit. Cash and investments ended up at $23 million, down from $23.7 million at the prior year. The next page, page 15 is Exhibit 5. This is the county's income statement on that modified accrual basis. Revenues of $20.1 million, which was up about $1 million from the prior year. And again, your net income was up $3.5 million for the year. The next thing I'd like to discuss with all the boards is starts on page 34. This is your long-term debt. And it's good for the board to see this debt when it's due for planning purposes. The county really has no long-term debt. There's about $845,000 of long-term debt on the school board side. So that's very impressive. Page 119, this is Exhibit 35. This is the school board's balance sheet for you all to look at. And then again, page 120 is Exhibit 36, and this is the school board's income statement. And the county did contribute to the schools about $2 million for the year. Usually I like to stop right here and tell the board that even though I don't present to the school board, I will say that your guys' school board finance department is one of the stronger ones, and I audit about 15 counties or cities throughout the state. So you have a very good finance department over at the school board.
Go Heather.
Next thing is page 129. This is really, these exhibits, Schedule 1, is really good for you all to look and see how you did and for how your constituents see how you did compared to your budget. And the Schedule 1 is the budget for the income. You budgeted for $21.5 million. You received about $20 million, so a little bit over $20 million. So you did pretty good on your budget. But even better, starting on page 132, is Schedule 2, which is the expenditures. And the county budgeted for $23.5 million for expenditures, but only spent about $16 million. And this variance is mostly due to the construction budget. Some things were not completed at the end of the year, as well as the county did budget to send $5.6 million to the school board and did end up sending the $2 million as the school has to send monies back to zero out their fund balances. Page 147, this is our report on internal controls. We did have one finding, and I'll discuss that in a second. Page 149 is our report on the major programs for federal programs, and we have no findings this year. Page 153 is your CFA, your schedule of expenditures for financial awards. And the entire federal expenditures for the year was about $9.3 million. And page 156 is your schedule of findings. Again, this is where that one item is. We did have to make material adjustments for accrual basis. Some accruals were not posted, but I'll be frank with you all, with the change that happened at the finance department and the county admin, I am very pleased about how this audit turned out. Your finance department made the audit a priority, and we were able to finish it pretty much in time and get everything to the state. And I was, again, very impressed with the finance department, as I didn't think that was going to happen due to turnover. So,
Okay.
Is there any questions for me?
I do have one question for you. Now, I'm gonna sum this up for you.
Okay.
I'm an idiot when it comes to finances, okay?
All right.
But where it says, under number 4, page 13, the unassigned fund balance.
Right.
$20.4 million. I don't come up with that figure as unassigned.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, and Jay, one thing that the Finance Committee, and I'm just going to put, like to insert that. The Finance Committee we had a meeting Wednesday at 3:30, and Jay, I have asked Roland, I think his last name was Cooch, of Davenport Investments, to call your firm and have some questions, some clarifications. What we have great concern about is, like, let's say next fiscal year, we don't meet budget. Like, let's say we have great concern we don't have enough in the general fund by the time at the end of the budget to utilize funds that's there, and we don't feel like it's 20 million there.
Okay.
And that's very concerning for.
Could you kind of define unassigned to us?
Sure. Essentially, it's anything that you all have not set aside to use for. You guys have
Obligated for, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. At the end of the year, you all had $22 million in cash, only $132,000 in liabilities. This is a general fund, and unavailable revenue. Again, these are things that you all already received, but maybe it was for the next year kind of thing, of 1.2 million. You take it mathematically, again, maybe we'll have to look at the details, but you take 22 million, subtract out less than 2 million, that's how you get the unassigned fund balance.
Well, I was always told we had to have reserves for the landfill, $8 million. And then ARPA funds are spoken for, that's $400,000 or $500,000. So there's money that's spoken for.
I'm not sure why we're calling it unassigned. Because now the citizens of our county think that they're not getting some things that they've deemed necessary done because we can't fund it. But if we try to explain to them that we cannot fund it, and we got an audit firm who's saying that you're $18 million to the good, that's kind of hard to explain, because we as a board know that figure's nowhere close to being right.
Well, if you look at the ARPA money, there's an old fund right here on Exhibit 3. It shows 2.7 million. All of that is sitting in there as unearned. So that's not a part of this number that we're talking about, because you have your own fund that's for ARPA.
Okay.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Yes.
I come from a financial background. There are 3 types of audits, and you're very familiar with that. There are financial audits, performance audits, and single audits. This, in essence, is like a performance audit. It's a statement of financial condition, pretty much, because you're only as good in your audit as the information you are given.
Right.
And the Finance Committee, when we met, we found there are errors, and it's no fault of our current finance director. It's adjusting entries were not made in previous years. So the information you were given has errors and is not, in essence, true figures. So you're only going by the numbers you found, correct?
We did propose journal entries that adjusted the beginning balances to make sure that they were correct for last year's financial statement.
That was last year. How far back did you go?
I'm sorry?
How far back did you go?
Well, the way a balance sheet works is it includes all the prior years. So your fund balance includes every other year ever.
So if the fund balances in the prior years are incorrect, your information is incorrect.
I would, yes.
And I'm saying that not to throw you under the bus, is
Right.
to show them what you're working with, that we do not have true data. So that's what we're stead with, and our finance director is stead with, making entries and getting this situation rectified. But your audit is statement of condition. It doesn't say that the numbers are accrued properly. They're not telling you that procurement was done properly, that deposits were made properly. That's a financial audit. You're pretty much a statement of condition.
Our audit is as of June 30th, 2023, yeah. I will say again, our financial, the adjusted journal entries that we proposed got us back to the beginning balance that was as of last year, yes.
As of last year.
As of 6/30/2022, yes.
What did you call that audit?
It's a statement of, it's a financial conditions audit. I'll show you later.
Okay, all right.
So let me reiterate this if you would. Going back to the $18 million, that sounds like it's in surplus. Is that what you're presenting to us? That's unaccounted for, it's unobligated money. Unassigned being is not obligated. Is that what you're saying?
You're talking about the unassigned fund balance?
Yes, sir.
This is something that the board has not assigned, yes.
That the funds has not been assigned anywhere.
Right.
So you didn't see any notations what it needed to be used for, what it was allocated for?
Not besides the ones that are assigned, which are committed in the land fund, the land sale fund, and the ARPA fund, and there's some other smaller funds, yeah.
And this is from, what did you tell the board and the public, from June of what, 23, correct?
This is as of June 30th, 2023.
June 30th, 23.
Does the amount you're talking about include, the county is required by code and law to reserve, what is it, 12, 13%, maybe a little more. Does that fund balance you are looking at include that amount?
That is, I don't think that's in our amount. We consider those, or we have had those as unassigned in the past.
Where does on page 129, you got $21,617,000 that was budgeted for the revenues, and the county actually received $20,137,000. Where does that $1 million show up in the shortfall?
Well, if you go through the variance on the details of it, it's really in the American Rescue Plan Act. The reason why you show that as a deficit of 1.2 million is because those funds haven't been used, so they're deferred.
Okay, thank you. But they're still outstanding, correct?
You have that money, you just haven't used it. So the way federal revenues work is you record the revenue when you've used it.
I'm speaking about 129. The county budgeted the revenues as it was going to receive $21,617,000, and the actual number it received was $20,137,000, which is greater than $1 million that was in shortcoming that they did not receive. They budgeted to receive it, but they did not receive it.
It was received, but it's deferred.
Oh, it was received?
Yes, so that 1.25 million that's in the American Rescue Plan Act on page 128, the difference,
Okay.
that was received, and that's part of this unearned revenue that's sitting in the ARPA fund of 2.7 million. So you have 2.7 million of cash in that fund, but because of accounting record, how accounting works is you haven't spent that money, so it's deferred, so you can't call it revenue until you spend it.
I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a totally different figure than I was given to that fund.
Well, I think you and I had met, Mr. Toth, you and I had met. We still have a lot of money assigned, like let's just use broadband. It's assigned in the ARPA funds, but we haven't spent it yet. So the figure I showed you is
It's what is unassigned, is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Which is a significant difference.
Right.
I need to go back and look at that again for my own information.
Man, you're both.
We need to look at that.
All right.
Okay.
Because ARPA is considered a major fund this year, it has to be separated out on this Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 5s. It's just a requirement of it. So you may have been, I don't know, you may have been discussing why is the general fund not having committed funds, but really this ARPA fund is now its own separate thing. And that may be.
And how long can the fund stay there, in the ARPA fund?
I'm sorry?
Till you use them?
Yeah, until you use it.
And it can keep building?
You can.
Okay.
I think there's a requirement that the ARPA money needs to be used by 2026, but I don't know off the top of my head.
For the first round.
So it does have a timeline to be used?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got two different deadlines,
Right.
one for the first round, then a year later for the second round.
Okay.
That'd be spent. All right. Y'all got anything else, board members? Yeah. And just for the record, again, I may have missed it, but when I was asking about what type of an audit was this, because she named 3, what type of an audit was this?
This is a financial statement audit with a single audit. I think she's referring to maybe some compliance, but this is a financial statement audit with a single audit, and that's part of the back part of it.
In the process of these audits, you looking at bank statements?
Of course.
Okay.
We have to reconcile cash.
Okay.
That's number one thing. If cash is off, then everything's off.
Okay. Thank you for taking this abuse.
Oh, no.
It seemed to be so too.
I've had worse, trust me.
Okay. Board members, did y'all have anything else right now?
I just want to say thank you and thank Martina Chandler, our finance director. She's done a wonderful job, but it is our job to grill you.
Of course. Of course. It's my job to take it.
Thank you, man. Greatly appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
No, you get a lot to chew on, man. Thank you. All right, we're going to the departmental reports. Say you want to move J1 up to
Yeah,
G1.
we'll get Ms. Bryan up here, then we'll
Okay.
we'll get to that.
Okay, Ms. Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the
Evening.
board, Mr. Bowen. I've got several updates for you this evening. I'm going to update you with our projects first. The Route 46 project, the demolition is still continuing. They are working on the piers now, and there's no change yet in the completion date of late fall. So as soon as we get any updates on that, we'll give those to you. Cary Shop Road, Route 624, the bridge over Mallory's Creek. That bridge was actually closed on February 5th, and it's still on schedule to complete mid-June. And even with the rainy weather that we've had, it's still on schedule to reopen on time. Route 723 and 460, we had been asked to do something with that intersection, and we worked with the county, we worked with the safety committee and everything. And in 2018, Nottoway County submitted an application for smart scale funding to improve that intersection. And that project was approved at 100% funding through the smart scale program. It's actually one of 2 projects that was approved for 100% funding in Nottoway. The other one was the roundabout at Fort Pickett. So the preliminary engineering phase began for that project in September of 2019. A willingness to hold a public hearing was done in December of 22 with no request for a public hearing. And there is a website for this project now. I think I sent that out to you all today or yesterday. I shared it with Mr. Colburn as well. And we want to make sure that people have an opportunity to look at that and see what's going to be going in there. The advertisement for that project is September of this year. And typically, it's about 60 days after that the project is awarded, and we expect construction to start in early 25. Now, that project is also going to require some weekend detours. That was the only thing that we went along with, but looking at the way that some of the islands are going to have to be constructed, it's the safest for the company and the motoring public, and that's the only way that they can really put those in. So, but those are going to only be weekend detours. Route 40 and 750, which is Darville's Road roundabout right there at Fort Pickett, That was the other project that received 100% funding through the application of the Smart Scale program. A public hearing for this project was held in March of '23. It's currently advertised for February 26th. And the right-of-way phase for that project is going to start this summer. So our weekly 2-week look-aheads that I send you, they're 2-week look-aheads, but I do send them to you every week. If you don't get one from me, then that means that there's no work scheduled for those projects. So even if I am off, I make sure that I send those out to the counties and all of the localities. The gradual speed reduction on Route 40 coming into Blackstone, that is still in the queue for a study. Our annual secondary six-year program, the projected funding for that looks like we're not going to be able to add any projects to the plan, but we will still review the plan, so I'd like to do that at a work session next month, and then have the public hearing in May. So if we could schedule those.
Okay, so before, Ms. Bryant, I think we have had had the work session 30 minutes before the board meeting before. Is that possible? Have we done that, or did I dream
We
that?
have done that. We've done the work session prior to the board meeting, so however you all choose to do that, that's fine.
Okay, let me look at some dates and I'll get on. But it needs to be done in April, so we can adopt it in May, right?
So yeah, because the public hearing will have to be advertised for 2 consecutive weeks prior to the board meeting, and it can't include the week of the board meeting.
Okay.
And the last thing that I have an update for you, Highway Heroes event is going to be held in October, actually October the 26th at the Chesterfield Fairgrounds. Our IMC is working with the group that puts that together. It's free for the public. It's going to be held rain or shine. The event is much like a Touch the Truck event kind of style. It's also to recognize the first responders that are responding on a daily basis. It includes VDOT, VDOT Safety Patrol, the Virginia State Police, the fire departments, rescue squads, police departments, and tow companies. There'll be different vehicles on display. There'll be 2 vehicle extrication demos, a demonstration of a commercial vehicle rollover, a police motorcycle course, a distracted driving simulator, and several helicopters will also be there. And once we have a flyer put together that can be handed out, I'll share that with you. I'll share everything that I get as soon as I get it, because it's a really nice event and the children absolutely love it. So last year we had a really good turnout. So I want to keep that on the agenda each month so I can remind people about it.
Sure.
And that was all of the additional information that I had for you. So do you have questions for me?
Board members, anybody got any questions from Ms. Bryant?
Mr. Chairman, while we got Ms. Bryant up there, if we could, board members, we could turn to J1. I appreciate it. This is a kind of more of a cleanup issue, I call it. We should have done a rural rustic resolution prior to, how long ago has that been, Ms. Bryant?
Actually, it was last year when we did the public hearing for the secondary six-year plan. I failed to request a resolution for Custis and Reservation Road to be built through the rural rustic guidelines.
Right.
So we have to have that in order to move forward with those.
Right. So the request is to ask if and you can see how the resolution is written up, which is pretty standard. It would be the pleasure of myself and Ms. Bryant, if y'all would approve that VDOT rural rustic resolution.
Board members, I had a chance to read this. If does anybody have any questions, or does anybody wish to put a motion on the floor?
I'll put the motion on the floor.
All right. All right, and that motion is to approve the resolutions, correct? Your motion to approve? Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
I was flipping pages.
Okay, all right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? There you have that, Mr. Bowen and Ms. Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Change that.
Thank you as always, Ms. Bryant. All right, moving on then. This is interesting.
All right, solid, I guess the floor is mine, solid
Yes, sir.
waste, and my favorite word, leachate. And I read that word, it says leachate. I wish I could find a leech that could eat all of it.
Yeah.
So, but there's not one out there. Right now, we are getting the pond down, to standards that should be to meet DEQ code. Walker's Hauling is taking 3 loads a day to Lynchburg. Who's accepting our leachate. The town of Blackstone is also assisting us with this. They're taking 3 loads a day from the town with our own truck. And we're also going, and Gary's doing a little step further. He's taking loads up on top of the hill and then let it seep through the ground just to get it out the pond. As we talked, he can't pump it, but we had talked about it before.
But it's seeping into
back to the
state, right? State approved. We're just not letting it run off.
But not let it run off, and that's the good news.
What they call that recirculated. So recirculating back through the trash, going to the pond.
Right, which makes the leachate stronger too with ammonia and everything.
Gets the level down.
Anyway, the 10 tanks are there, so we still, we got to get the pond right. Then we want to start pumping out the tanks that we're renting out there, and then get those back, so we don't have to be paying that kind of money. That's the good news. The bad news is, these weather people are 50% right. My understanding is we might get an inch and a half rain Friday and Saturday, and so that means more rain, more water, more leachate. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so I noticed somebody here gets a little big-headed when I keep reminding him about getting out the landfill business. So I think I'm just going to stop the conversation so he can get out the courtroom without bumping his head. Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, we're not the only locality that is struggling this spring with leaching.
Oh, no, it's just part of that, right. That's why we had a hard time finding somebody to take it.
It's
Right.
just
We
been
had to take
extraordinary
all the
wet
Lynchburg.
spring.
Right. So, but thank you for saying that, Mr. Collins.
All right. Building inspections.
I saw Mr. Bowles come in, but I don't think it's anything right now that we.
Okay.
All right.
Animal control, we got anything on animal control?
The only thing on animal control, Mr. Rourke, Chairman Rourke and I met a couple times, and I've had maybe some brief conversation with other board members. We thought it'd be a good idea, Mr. Collins, like how in the jail you get so many days, the inmate is there so many days, and you get charged for that.
Per diem.
Right. So I'm asked Sheila to add to her report, if she would, to show that I just how many animals is there? 40 days, over 40 days. That's the number I threw out. If the board want to see over 30 days or 35 days, we can make that change. But I thought that would kind of give you an idea of how long they stay in the shelter, and the longer they stay in the shelter, the more it costs the county. So anyway.
All right. Just a thought then. Can we just maybe simplify this? Okay. In the report, the date the animals picked up and the dates released from our custody.
Yeah, I mentioned that, and I think I don't know how easy that'll be, but I can, it might be a lot of paperwork, but we can figure that out. Is that what you rather see? I'm just asking. I mean, we can.
I'm sure they keep a log.
Yeah, I go by animal numbers. They actually name the animal, I think, the way I understand it. But
so this is in an Excel spreadsheet, or is this paper? Or
well, it's just something I was going to try. Mr. Rourke wanted to kind of start up some type of new program, so I was just trying to make it easier until we get another shelter. But I was just trying to figure out a way.
Depending on how they keep in a log, just have a copy of the log available, so we can see animal in, animal out.
Okay.
You don't have to do any extra work.
Yeah, because like you said, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, you got the date of contact with the animal. And
however,
then the
whatever record they're keeping, so they know when they got the dog and then when the dog leaves. They should be doing something already.
Yeah, well, if you look at the for the month, new intakes 28. Right now, according at the end of February, there were 9 animals in the shelter that were dog and 2 cats. They fostered 2 of the 28, I presume. RTO was returned to owner, I presume.
Yes, sir.
3. Transfers 23, so 23 of those dogs were transferred somewhere else. 2 were adopted. The euthanized 6, 1 was a medical and 5 were behavior. And so you pretty much see what they're doing. I mean, I understand put them in there and see how long they've been there. I agree with that. But it looks like for the number of dogs that came in, we're shuffling them out of there pretty quick, which is good.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
you know, we're not keeping around. At the end of February, there were 9 dogs in the shelter, so I think that's pretty good. You know, I had 2 picked up on my road today. Hopefully they're gonna be, they said they were gonna be transferred. And then I've got 1 more up my road today that's gonna be picked up Monday. So we're trying to figure out where they came from. One of them ended up in my yard, and that one was transferred back to the owner. I thought I was gonna become the owner, but, yeah, so, you know, if you look at it, if there's 9 in there at this time, it sounds like they're trying to do a pretty good job of moving them on.
Right. So would the board be okay if we just maybe add, just to take baby steps, add another line item that says 30 days over, 2, 3? Would that be okay to start?
Rather than having to name the specific animal you're talking about?
Yeah, just, I mean, I see what you're asking, but like a new intake, let's say the new intake is Sparky, okay? You know, you're gonna track Sparky until after he leaves, we're just gonna take Sparky. I mean, see what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure, I think just to start, it'd be.
Just to see which of these 9 have been in there.
Right, that's right.
To see, make sure you don't have no dogs in there no 60, 90, 100 days.
That's right.
I'm fine with that.
Then if you keep seeing 5 over 30, 5 over 30, you're gonna say, well, what is over 30?
And then which of the 5 is it?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Then they can go back and tell us which 5 it is.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question
Sure.
on intakes. Is there a way for us to record, are they coming from the county area, or are they coming from the towns?
They're supposed to, as I understand it, give a location of where they came into contact with the animal at.
It'd just be interesting to see where the flow is the heaviest, to see where the animals.
You're talking about county areas, town areas, stuff like that? Yeah,
That would be
I know that one thing the citizens have told me is when they've called animal control, sometimes they hear there's no room. So it would be important to always have a little bit of space so you can respond and.
Well, how's the jail board treat that? They always got a room up high?
Well, that's what happened today.
Stack 'em.
That's what happened today on my road. They took the 2 young hound puppies that somebody evidently dropped out, but they didn't take the older dog. They said they're gonna try to get those 2 fostered or sent somewhere else, and then they're gonna come pick up the older dog on Monday.
So where did they leave the older dog at, Mr. Daniel?
At the house that the lady said she said the dog was so nice she didn't mind keeping it until Monday. I mean, she said the dog knew commands and everything else.
What bothers me is if they ever called and leave a dog,
Right.
and then the next day or 4 days later,
Right.
you see the dog dead in the road.
Oh yeah, it happens, I'm sure.
And it's awful.
Oh yeah,
Especially if they had the opportunity to get the dog.
right.
Or that dog got the contact attacks a citizen.
Oh yeah, that's if you're talking about that type of dog, you're right. Which is any of them, all of them got teeth already.
Yeah.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to respond one thing. The reason of this discussion, I don't see the person in the audience that asked me in my district. We talk about this in great length because we're planning on building a facility or having a facility built, and we need to know these things before we move forward with our plan.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
I would be curious as to on these older dogs, is it or cats or anything, is rehoming them or moving localities to the SPCA? Is that optional?
I think
As a
it's
county?
Some of these transfers.
I think that's some of the transfers.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Norton, you mentioned something about building a facility. I heard a rumor that it may already be built, but that's just a rumor. I just started. All right. Nottoway County Public Library.
No, sir.
Dr. Grimes, I did see Dr. Grimes. Do you have anything, Ms. Grimes? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, Mr. Bowen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak once again. I just have 2 comments. The first is, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you and express my gratitude for the joint board meeting that you all attended with our school board members on March 12th, March 13th. March 12th. I found the meeting to be very productive. I appreciate your engagement, the questions that you asked, and the conversation that was held. It was very pleasurable to have an open conversation, to receive the questions, and to be able to just dialogue with you all. So I appreciate that. The second piece of information that I'd like to share with you is that the school board does have a special called meeting scheduled for Wednesday, March 27th, and we plan to present the budget to the school board at that time for a vote, so that we will have it to the Board of Supervisors prior to April 1. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Did y'all get that date? Board members, March 27th. What time was that, Dr. Grimes? 6 o'clock? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we left one piece of unfinished business, and hopefully somebody will follow up. There's going to be a school visit, and we talked about doing it
Yes.
Right.
either a Tuesday or a weekend day. So just keep that in mind. We still want to do that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. Social services, I know Ms. Reed was here, but she did not have, she was here for a different reason. So I believe she's left. Planning and Economic Development, Mrs. Odie, you have anything?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to point out that the Planning Commission at our meeting Tuesday night, we did come up with by vote, 2 recommended amendments to the draft solar ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was to remove the impermeable surface on the interior roads. And I can give you I can share the citation with you all if you need it. And the second was offering a waiver to reductions on setbacks to non-immediate family adjacent property owners. It's a mouthful. And I was struggling today with how to get that into verbiage, but reducing a setback no less than 500 feet.
That's right.
So I'll write I'm going to formalize those, and I'll bring those to the Planning Commission meeting. And it's my hope that we can pass the ordinance and make a positive recommendation on the ordinance on April 16th, and then forward it to the board for their consideration at the April 18th meeting.
So the waiver would waive a setback, or just waive
No,
it
waive it.
to not below 500?
That's correct.
Not below 500 feet.
My understanding in the editing of the ordinance was keep the 800 feet, but if somebody came in and wanted to try to get a variance to 500 feet, but nothing less than 500 feet. The other thing was it keeps the acreage at 40 acres of panels.
So keep it at 800 feet is the recommendation, but our requirement is 500 feet to get a special use permit. Is that what you're saying? That sounds like a little bit of extra work to me.
What was said at the meeting was, if the landowner who wants to put 40 acres or whatever number, 10 acres, whatever, they go to their adjoining landowners, non-family landowners, and they agree to it, they could cut the buffer down to 500 feet, but no less than 500 feet.
So the 800 feet is if they didn't agree with it? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
All right.
The last.
And I was just going to ask you, did it ever catch any traction to say that any solar facility parts must be made in the USA? Did it ever catch any traction?
Yes.
You might not find any. How about the agricultural use under the solar panels? Was that ever further looked at?
As zoning administrator, I wouldn't see a problem with that, quite honestly.
How about in making a certain part of it mandatory?
In terms of just, I forgot the terminology for it.
Agrivoltaic?
That's it.
That's it. Thank you. We can certainly make that decision. I can raise it at the Planning Commission. But I did hear that one comment, I believe it's that one public comment at our public.
Perhaps even if you may not be that it's required, but may ease back the 800 to the 500. Maybe you could mention some language into it that if you're going to use it for this, you can get by with the 500-foot, even if the adjacent landowners didn't give their consent, or all of the adjacent landowners didn't give their consent.
So like have sheep and stuff?
That's exactly right. It'd be more productive, and it won't take it out so much of a production. It's just me thinking out loud. We got a lot of further discussion to do with that, don't we? From the planning.
Well, everybody needs to look at the entire ordinance. One of the things in the ordinance that, we changed the impermeable road, but a lot of people haven't looked at the ordinance. We've said in the ordinance that if someone has solar panels, that all the topsoil that they remove to put them in has to stay on that site. So it can be used in the future when the panels go out. You'll have topsoil that you can put back, because if you don't, you know what it's going to be like when you clear off land and just leave it.
Right.
So that's one of the requirements in the ordinance, is that's got to be done.
And if they're going to graze underneath it, the topsoil's going to have to be sorted back underneath the panels to grow grass for the stuff there.
Yep.
Which would make it a little more desirable for use, agricultural, because that's what, in essence, that's the areas that is going in anyhow.
That's right.
Opposed to going on top of rooftops in big cities.
All right, and the last thing I had was I handed out email and then a packet behind it. I requested to the planning, that the Board of Supervisors, sorry, too many meetings this week. The Board of Supervisors grant me the permission I need to submit an RFI, which is due on Monday.
I move
Request for information, I'm sorry.
I move we give Mr. Zodi permission to do that.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Rock and roll with that then, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Buddy Hyde. Glad to see you're up and about a little bit.
Yeah, bear with me on my voice. Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Bowen, staff, citizens. Just a couple of things. I'm going to be back up here in a few minutes, so I'll defer everything about the radio system to I-5. I think we have I-5 is that under public safety. I think Mr. Bowen is going to open that up. And I believe Mr. Toth and Mr. Collins are also going to help weigh in on some comments with that, and also myself. And we do have Ms. Jiggets here tonight. She came in just to answer any questions with our CTA. She's our contractor. We have her under contract for the past couple of years. So she is here to answer any questions, and she's been working on reduction of the system for us. So I do want you to give an opportunity to let her explain what some of those, I think you'll like what she's found for us. And what we've done is based on those items that you requested me to look at. So we'll bring that up in I-5. But real quick, the GIS, I know you've heard a lot about it, and we've got a contractor right now, phenomenal person at a reasonable cost, and just knocks it out of the park, has helped so many other counties. We've sat down and started the GIS layers for the fire and EMS, and this is something that historically has never been done to this degree, to using technology. We're looking at every 911 address in Nottoway County. We're mapping it with technology, and this is awesome. And I tell you, I'm excited about it, and I say that with all honesty and sincerity, is that I love maps. And when I found out what they could do, I'm like a kid. I'm like a kid in a candy store. They were able to put a dot at every 911 address. They were able to take every road in Nottoway. And what we're doing is we're looking at the distance and looking at the reasonable driving time based on reasonable speed limits. So that's being done now. We've already done the fire layer. We're going to get together with the fire chiefs within the next week. I feel a little better now. So next week we're going to meet the fire chiefs, and we're going to see if everybody agrees with what we found. And then we're going to do the EMS layer, which is going to be phenomenal with, being able to divide out the substation at Blackstone, the substation at Crew of the Nottoway Emergency Squad. This has never been done before, to where they know exactly where the midpoint is between the two. And then, of course, Burkeville on the other end, on the western end, and be able to solidify their boundary as well on EMS. And then we're not going to stop with that. We're going to actually have some helicopters at landing zone coordinate checks based on Hooper Park and the Allen Perkison Airport, where we land the helicopters. All right, budget planning, I just want to put a kudos out. We've been sitting down with all the fire chiefs. That's completed now. We're ready for you next Tuesday. Well, we'll have a few of the fire chief representatives and EMS come in with myself, and we'll sit with you like we did last year. I would like to say that Ms. Martina Chandler, I want to commend her on the new forms that she's made, the structure, the tightening up of the process. It's been phenomenal. We've had to work some forms back and forth. We've had to educate everybody on the forms. But you know what? The product's going to be great at the end, and I just want to thank her for that. I went to a meeting today. I attended a meeting which was the very first regional Heartland meeting of all the counterparts to myself. We had Amelia, Cumberland, Buckingham, Prince Edward, Charlotte, and Nottoway. And Lunenburg was invited but couldn't make it. So we're looking to do this every 2 months. And what we did in the meeting this morning at 10 is we had about a 2-hour meeting, and everybody has the same problems. And so we are sharing our playbooks, sharing our thoughts, and we're just working together. All of us are the same in our positions. And one thing that we found out, the drug box program, we talked about that, and that's coming up in the budget session. So the drug box program for the Regional Drug Council, that for our EMS was one thing. The other thing was radio systems. And 3 of us at the table this morning were actually in the radio system building process. And actually all 3 of us are using CTA, Ms. Jiggets, for that, Prince Edward, Amelia, and Nottoway. So we all talked about our pros and cons on that. And then last but not least, ambulance cost. The providers are really concerned in all of our counties. Ambulances are going up to $375,000 now, empty, and they're going to be $400 within a year. And there's a 2-year wait time. So ambulance has to have a 10-year life roughly. And if you have one that's run a lot, it might not make it 10. But this is a real problem. Just want to put that on the radar. All of our agencies are going to be buying ambulances, at $400,000 a pop, and they just keep climbing. So this is a reality, and we just wanted to bring it forward.
How many ambulances in the county, buddy?
We have 10. We have 10 ambulances. We have 8 with Nottoway Emergency Squad, and we have 2 in Burkeville. So we have 10 ambulances. All of them have drug boxes on them, which will be part of that drug box discussion. And so a lot of it's regulated by the state. So just want to make you aware of that, and that's all I have. And I'll see you back on
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
So we got 10 ambulances. Is there a spreadsheet or a log that shows the ages of those, and then perhaps when we would have to buy?
Yes, sir, there is. Yes, sir. Last year we sat down with all the fire and EMS chiefs, and this is a document I want to share with you when things settle a little bit. But you wanted a capital improvement plan. What we did last year is we mapped it all the way out to about 2038. And what we have is we have replacement values and approximate values because everything's going up quickly. And we looked at the time. We looked at 20 and 25 years on a fire truck, and we looked at 10 years on an ambulance. They're all on this sheet. I've got it on one piece of paper.
So it won't be a surprise when you ask for an ambulance?
It will not be a surprise. And by the way, we have 37 vehicles in the emergency fleet of Nottoway County.
One ambulance, 10-year expectancy, that's the ambulance per year.
Yes.
Are they spaced apart, or did somebody go and buy 4 or 5 at one crack?
No, we staggered.
Okay.
We staggered. We tried to stagger the fire trucks as well.
We got 2
As
with the
best we
COVID
could.
money.
Right, and while you're talking fire trucks, you're
Fire
looking
trucks
at
and
Ambulance.
Yeah, right, and you're looking at 1 million, and this is not a far-fetched number. Right now, people are buying engines at 800,000 now. So 1 million is not out of the realm of a fire engine within the next couple of years. The problem is, since COVID, it's just like cars and trucks. Ambulances and fire trucks too, not only are going up a lot in cost on the new, is it's taking 2 to 3 years to get those.
Hey,
so
buddy.
if you order one, you probably won't have to pay for it for 3 years.
Real quick, does the 10 years include, can you re-chassis ambulance? I know you can do it to a fire truck.
You can. You can still re-chassis, and you can get grants to re-chassis.
Is that after the 10 years?
Yes, you can. You can do that. You can do that. You can go new or re-chassis, and some people have had success with that. I thought a lot of people, what they're doing now is they're re-chassing and selling. Because
tell the public what re-chassis is, buddy.
Well, re-chassis means that you're just going and putting a new cab with the wheels, the dual wheels at the back of the frame. You're taking the box that the patient rides in, and you're basically setting it on. I've been part of a re-chassis in my career. I've done probably 3 in my career. I've been on committees for them, and you're basically setting that box back on it. It's the vendor that built the ambulance to start with, and they are very familiar with the wiring, the hoses, and all of that, and they're able to take everything and rebuild it, put it back, and reconnect it. And what you're doing is putting a new chassis and drivetrain under it. And you can run that again for a while. The boxes hold up pretty well. But what they also do, Mr. Toth, the ones that I've been part of, and this is a smart move, nobody should do it without doing this, is refurb that box while you're at it. Put new lights in it, maybe like fresh the paint up a little bit, and put some new upholstery in the back and some cabinetry, because that wears out as well.
And door handles. I was thinking the whole time you was talking, you was taking a white piece, putting it on a new piece.
Right.
But if you do that, then you're not.
Yeah, and you're really not. And a lot of times the box holds up very well. And what they'll do is they'll inspect it because it has to go back under standards.
How much cost savings is that in re-chassis? Roughly, just roughly.
I'd be giving you some old figures, but you used to could re-chassis one for about 50%.
That's fine,
So
$1,000.
how far would it, excuse me, extend the useful life?
Could you get another 10 out of it, buddy?
You probably could if you do a good job on the box. If you make sure the box is not somewhere like rivets are coming out of it and things that would wear out quicker, you may get another 10 out of it. You know, the biggest thing, and all of them will tell you in these EMS agencies, is drive line is the problem. Brakes, drive line, the diesel engines. We're running these things, we're running them in the parking lots and never cut them off. You know, so you put a lot of miles, you put a lot of hours on them. So typically the box is just what wear and tear you get in the back of it. You know, with working on the patient. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, Mr. Collins from the Piedmont Regional Jail.
Well, we had a jail meeting yesterday. Jail's doing okay. We do have some DCBR inmates over there, and we get a state reimbursement, but we're going to try to keep a better log and see if we can get that increased by Mr. Lee Ware. We hope. That's it, really. Budget's doing fine. They got their new grinder on their septic drain. We paid for some of that with ARPA money. That's up and running.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Bowen, anything on the LRA, please?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman and the Vice Chairman, we did have had a good meeting this week with Colonel Schaefer and discussed some, I guess you call it strategic planning for future. So if either two of you want to comment on that, that's fine.
We just want to have some goals and look at better ways to use that for economic development. And that's really all we'll talk about. Right.
Yep. Okay.
And we'll discuss some of that in the next LRA meeting, which is scheduled in April. The other thing is, and we'll discuss that in the next LRA meeting too, the LRA has given me direction, and I have started that process of termination of the lease with our present renters at the bowling alley.
That's been handed over to the attorneys, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Ms. Brown is not here. Sheriff, you have anything? Okay, all right, thanks, sir. Ms. Rayford's not here, Ms. Hudson. Ms. Watrous, do you have anything?
Excuse me.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Two additional things from Ms. Cook earlier today. First, jumping ahead briefly under unfinished business, I spoke with Mr. Bowen. I'm going to withdraw that request at this point. I understand that county admin has been busy, hasn't been able to get all the figures together. Maybe probably working on that audit, which I understand is very important. So we will revisit that once we're talking about the budget for next year. So I wanted to withdraw that unfinished business item number 3.
And I thank you for that, Ms. Walters, for working with us on that.
Absolutely. The other thing I have for the board is, in addition to Ms. Cook, who has joined the office in the last couple of weeks, I have been able to hire and have joined the office the new Operation Ceasefire Violent Crime Prosecutor under that grant from DCJS. That is David Chappell. He has almost 35 years of experience as a lawyer, more than half of that as a prosecutor, and comes to us from the Brunswick County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. He served as an elected for one term in the 90s, not in Brunswick, a different locality, and he actually served as the interim in Brunswick between the election and the new CA taking office. So he is a wealth of knowledge. We are very lucky to have him, and I am looking forward to being able to put forth town halls in each of the towns. I would invite each of you to come to those when we get those set up, and he's also looking forward to trying to work with the schools and get in the schools and start creating those relationships before the kids get out into the community and encountering more of that violent crime. So just wanted to update the board on that. Beyond that, that's all I have, unless you had questions for me.
Anybody got any questions, Ms. Watrous?
Yes, I do, Ms. Walters. In an effort to understand your reporting, and I'm sorry I hadn't had time to reach out to you, your case-by-case scenarios, your data, can you explain on the first one, it says court appearances 159, and then it breaks it down to assault, civil cases, type of cases, and it says total 26. How does that equate to 159 court appearances?
So thank you for asking. Two completely different numbers. We just didn't want to be presenting like 10 pages to the board. Court appearances are going to be when we appear in court on a case. So it can be an arraignment, it can be the trial, it can be a motions hearing, anything like that. So we have to get the file prepped for that court hearing. So that is how many files have we appeared for in court in that time period. I think the only thing I don't include in that are grand jury cases. The cases, case-by-case type, those are new case files opened within that month or that time period or the year if it's the year to date. And those are categorized by the most serious offense within the file. So we might have 27 new files in a month, but have 159 court appearances because you're going to court on cases you've already opened. Every court file is going to have, or every case file is going to have numerous court appearances. That in each appearance.
So a continuous would be another,
yes.
okay.
So
they may go 3 times on one.
let's say you have a distribution of cocaine charge that gets brought on a warrant. We come for arraignment in general district court. We then come for preliminary hearing where we've got to be prepared to put forward a probable cause hearing. You then have grand jury. That's one that we don't include in those numbers. You then might set a status hearing in circuit court to determine if the case is going to jury or trial. You might have a motions hearing, arguing a motion to suppress. You might then have the trial, and then you would have a sentencing hearing. So each of those would be a court appearance because each one of those requires preparation within the office for that court appearance, and it's the time the case is being called on the docket.
Is it? All right.
Ms. Walters, if I may, I want this to come out all right, but it won't. I get a lot of I get a lot of concerned people on my specific road, not just my district, as to people walking at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We all know that they're meth heads, and well, they are, and they have a problem. I feel sorry for them. A couple of them I went to school with, and I actually give a couple of them a ride every time I see them. Unfortunately, it's usually not 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So a fella called me on my road just this week, and he said we got a new one in the community. What is it? What can the state do? Does the state not want to prosecute these people? Because I've talked to a couple deputies, and they say, well, we've incurred them 2 or 3 times, but they out. They still out. Is it illegal for them to? It's illegal for them to possess it, correct?
Are we talking about illegal to walk on the road or to possess methamphetamine?
To possess methamphetamine while walking on the roadway at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's the giveaway.
It is illegal for them to possess methamphetamine. However, your officers are going to have a reasonable suspicion to encounter them and probable cause to search them, and an exception to the search warrant requirement in that case if they're not already under arrest. And so they may not have legal cause to actually search them, and if they did, the county would likely be facing a lawsuit for an unlawful arrest.
I understand that. You just cannot go up to somebody and say, I want to search you to see if you got meth. However,
you can ask.
oh yeah, sir, you can ask.
Many people who may possess meth usually decline that request.
Well, what about somebody, Sheriff? I guess it's legal to be on a state road walking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, sir. You're in America.
But here's what they got going on, Ms. Walters. They got to spot and steal. One spots it, another one comes back and steals it. That's where we can crack them down. Now, if we catch them in the process of stealing it, does that give the law enforcement officer a right to search them, bodily search them?
If they're arresting them, yes, that's search incident to arrest.
How about trespassing? Do they have the right to search them if they're trespassing?
If they are being placed under arrest, they have
So it's
the
up
right
to
to
that
search
law
them.
officer to place them under arrest for trespassing, or is that a civil? Because a lot of times you get the underbus and say, well, that's a civil matter. If a joker standing on my land, he's trespassing, would they want me to sue him for some monetary?
So trespassing is one of the interesting things in the law that is both civil and criminal. There is a civil cause of action. I'm not a civil lawyer. I won't get into that. There is a criminal cause of action, and there are 2 generally used criminal codes for trespassing. One, the person has to have noticed that they're not there, either through
Have noticed that they're not
that
there.
they're not that they're not permitted to be there.
Okay.
So posted notice by someone who's authorized to post the notice, or prior being told.
Which could simply be a line on a tree. That's a legal posted mark, right?
A line on a tree?
Mm-hmm.
No. A sign that says no trespassing? Yes.
So the lines on the trees isn't no longer a posted?
Not for criminal court. I cannot get a
That's showing your boundary, and that's, more hunting or timber sale.
They got them on roadways. The boundary is the road. We know that much. Many timber companies put a blue mark on a tree. I was always told that was posted mark.
Not for a criminal charge of trespassing. I will
Okay.
not get a conviction if that is the only.
So if it's a no trespassing sign up there and they within the bounds of that, they can be criminally prosecuted.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the offense of that? Just out of curiosity. I mean, what is it?
That's a class 1 misdemeanor that's punishable by up to 12 months in jail and or $2,500 fine.
Okay. I get that asked a lot. You'd be surprised. And I know you get a lot of calls on it too.
And there's
Because I refer them to your office.
And that is fine. My office works, the magistrate works, and law enforcement also is another
Right.
good option.
The law enforcement gets really discouraged when the state doesn't move forward and they bring the same person back up out. I actually grabbed one of them myself who was going through my vehicle and placed him in the back of the truck, my pickup, while the deputy came and picked him up. And he said, he's got to be in court tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Do you want me to carry him to Piedmont? I said, no, because he'd be back over here before you do. He's got court in the morning at 9 o'clock. That's just one incident. That happened. I got it on video. He was going through my belongings, and he was a meth head. He had sores all over him. He was dressed in a tuxedo. He had run through the barbed wire fence.
Where did he get the tuxedo from?
Well, he said he hit the lottery. But listen, he come to my house, Miss Waldress, knocked on the door. He was thirsty. My wife gave him a can of Dr. Pepper. So we are them kind of people. We want to help everybody, but you got to kind of want to help yourself a little bit. I've been on both sides of the law, by the way. I'd like to add that. But it sure is good to see your smiling face here tonight. Thank you. That's all I've got.
I don't know. I might need to stop coming to board meetings. Goodness.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question, Ms. Rogers. The different case types you give us, felony versus misdemeanor,
Yes.
and all the numbers you give us, how many of those will no process?
I don't have that data before me. We might be able to pull that up in our case management
Would that
system.
data be included in these numbers?
We haven't been. I can look to see if it should be a report that we could run, and if so, I'm happy to include that.
No process means it can be brought back up at any time, correct?
As long as it's within the statute of limitations, yes.
Which is,
It just means dismissed.
depending on the charge, is that right?
Dismissed
No,
is a
it's not
different word
dismissed.
than a null pros.
Right.
Dismissed is
This is
different than
generally a
null
lab
pros.
situation?
No.
It can be a multitude of reasons. It can be a victim no longer wants to go forward. It can be we have insufficient evidence. It can be that someone doesn't show up to court. It can be that there is no crime. It could be a multitude of reasons for a null pros. It could be that the lab, and then we're bringing it back up. Sometimes null pros charges are recharged. Sometimes they are not.
I got just a quick question. You got numbers rolling around in my head real quick. So if I heard the conversation right, in other words, if y'all appear in court, let's just say you came to court today, and you heard 10 cases, does that count as 10 appearances?
Yes.
Okay, so but it's one day, 10 appearances.
Yes, because
Okay.
for each of those appearances, we have to do prep work, which could be 5 minutes or 10 hours.
I got you.
Per case.
Okay, all right, I just
A
rolled
lot of
around.
work for every court case. Let
Oh,
me
I
assure you,
guarantee
we work more than just when we're before the judge.
Thank you for your
Extra time.
yeah.
Y'all have a good evening.
You do the same.
She'll come, next time we'll have a warning label written before they come up. All right, where are we at? Oh, unfinished business and animal shelter update.
Mr. Chairman and board members, I met with Jeff Bond of Solex Architect, Solex, Mr. Ingram, not Solar.
Thank you.
Okay, just one. And Mike Gentry, who's been very helpful, and he looked at that existing building out there that we want to talk about, see if we can we make it meet state code. With confidence, he said, absolutely. He also, with confidence, feels it's going to be about half the cost of which we originally thought an animal shelter would be.
Which original number?
I was scared to ask. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of that 2.22. Okay.
Talking about that's his current projection.
Yeah, he just took. He was in there for a couple of hours. You know. He's going to give me a price on. We do not have to bid that out. He's under state contract, and that's how Amelia procured him as well. He doesn't specialize in animal shelters. He specializes in making the customer happy. That's how he put it to him.
man we want.
That's right.
So he said that he would give me a price on the cost to make that building, to draw that building up for a contract to put out on bid. He would give me a price within 2 weeks so I can put it in budget. And then he would he told me, he said, I need about 3 to 4 months to draw it up for you. And then you can start putting it on bid and break ground. I mean, renovate. If you go with that existing building. So the question is, I guess we'll see the price, and then you tell me, give me the direction. Do you want to go with the existing building? I mean, I'm not saying to do that, but just something to be thinking about.
All right, well, if we have that ready for the April work session, please have that added to the April work session.
Okay, yes, sir.
So we can get a consensus on that night so we can move forward. Also, I understand sometimes meetings are very boring. So what was it, February's meeting or January's meeting, I believe they were doing a presentation. And I want the citizens to understand that drama may sell for media, but one of the things I beg of the citizens to listen to, regardless of how boring it is, that night in particular, they presented that it was over $1 million savings, but it was portrayed that was boring, even though there was a savings to the citizens, to the taxpayers. This here may sound boring, but it's, again, over $1 million savings with the work that we've been doing for the citizens. And as boring as it may be.
You mean in addition, Mr. Chairman, to the $1 million savings they presented to us?
Yeah.
Right, that's what I just wanted to clarify.
We were
that for people.
$4.8 million last quarter,
Right.
last fall.
Right.
4.8.
And here we are now, over $2 million savings, and just like we're not finished with the radio tower. As boring as this may be, it's very important for the citizens to hear this, even if it's not reported, even if it's not done Facebook Live. It's very important because it will affect your tax rate. And that's what we're here for. So, anyway, next item. School surplus property.
Mr. Chairman, that's in your package. I think it's should be a motion already, suggested motion from Ms. Kelly had gotten together. Is it right?
Yes.
Okay. This school property, you have to follow that motion because at one time I think Mr. Ingram, it had Galubic tied up with it, but we're going with the parcel that we're receiving from the school is very specific, and the address and the parcel number, which is I consider the old annex building when I went to Crew Junior High. So just if I'm asking now, once we receive this. Once we receive this building, it's our baby. And now the next step is what are we going to do with it? And so you see the pictures in there of the condition of it. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Was this a previous board's, this was going on last year, or this is something new? Or?
No, what happened was, when it was presented at first, it included, if you look at the diagram right here,
but I don't
it included all of this plus the stadium.
Oh.
Okay.
So we asked that they reduce it to that corner right there. These would still be those fields that are out there behind it.
Do we know what it's zoned?
I don't.
What was that? I didn't hear you, Bill.
Do we know what it's zoned?
Oh, no. That's a good question. It's all connected to the Galubic Stadium and that park out there. And I'm pretty sure there's just residents around there, but I'm not sure how that's zoned with town. I'd have to do some research.
We can let Mr. Zodi do it, because if we need to rezone it to make it marketable to sell, then we can work through that.
Right.
This building, when it was first put up, it housed the ag shop. It's a nice shop building in the back. I actually went to 5th and 6th grade in that building.
I have horrors of that building with Doug Gard doing the presidential.
I think he's dead.
Yes.
Don't talk about dead people.
Oh.
Doug Gard was one of the smartest men I ever knew.
I expect Miss Wooten, you probably worked at that building. First teaching job. And she's retired now. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, once the county owns it, then we've got to figure out what to do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any type of possibility, liability? I mean, if you decided to tear it down to make it marketable, how much would it cost? More than the land is worth?
Well, you know, first of all, I don't think, I guess that's why the school has left it like it is. Mr. Rourke and I, you know, trying to look inside of busted windows and type things like that. Right. It had a lot of parts in there. It had a lot of plumbing parts and tool. I look like some tools in there, so I don't know. I'm surprised it's still in there.
Any visible asbestos on it?
Looks like the flooring is. I saw 9x9 tile, and normally 9x9 is asbestos. 12x12 is usually just vinyl. So, but anyway, so by looking at it, it looks like it is.
They've had some folks building apartments in Blackstone that have purchased things and they tore it down.
You might could sell it as is. You know.
You might could sell it as is.
Get it zoned right. Get some high density residential so they can put some apartment. You might find somebody.
Yep. And the last picture is just showing you that's the library, and that's where some of our ARPA money went. I just want you to know.
See this?
That's why that's in there.
That were actual classroom.
All right, where's that motion at? You got. Oh, okay.
You ready for the motion?
Yes, sir. If you want to read the motion, yes, sir.
I move to receive school board property deemed surplus located in the town of Crewe, address 205 East Pennsylvania Avenue, further identified as 18A 30-7-E-83, and that legal staff prepare the necessary documents for execution by the chairman and recordation.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed?
Aye. Opposed. I'm not educated enough on it to accept a potential huge liability. But it passed, so it doesn't make a difference.
Steve, can you make a note for Mr. Zodi to investigate zoning?
Sure.
Yes, I will, definitely.
All righty now. Next item is leave pay. We'll skip number 3, go to number 4. She's no longer making a request. Leave pay.
Oh, that's in your, well, I haven't looked at that, but that should be in your, it may not be in your package. I'm trying to. I don't have his numbers in front of me. Hold on, guys. Is Miss Kelly, is that, did we have it separate somewhere?
While y'all are looking for that, you want to move ahead to the public safety?
All right, yes, yeah, we can go back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's keep things moving. Public safety, the health department building is, has possibly mold and mildew in the basement. An employee went down there from the health department and got sick. Buddy hadn't been feeling well, but he's not blaming on that, but I feel like it's part of it. So we took him out of the EOC. Since that time, I've met with Matt, the director of health department, and Chris Thompson, who is the health department's emergency manager. Nick Bowles, our building official, has been helping with me. We're planning to take some kind of air sampling either Saturday or Tuesday. Hopefully they'll get it Saturday to find out what are we battling in now. But the bottom line is water's getting in that basement, and it's caused mold and mildew. And I think Mr. Roy, the chairman, had went in there the other day, and he felt like it made his throat tighten up. Today they called me and found out that we had in the same building we have termites, and so I had asked Jimmy Fowler. He's helping me with the calling someone to get somebody to spray for termites. And I was getting a little bit leery. So when I met with Matt, I said, Matt, do y'all still want to stay here? And he goes, yes, most definitely. So he showed me some renovation they want to do in that building, and they pay for it. Basically, they need another room, and they got stuff storage where it's obstructing the egress, leaving the exit at the back. So they want to put the front door in another section and kind of have a better flow that goes in there. So they are working with us and have been very kind, and I think we can just keep moving forward. But I probably will have to have some type of emergency procurement to address once I get that to find out what we're dealing with, to get that moisture out that building. It's bad. Anyway, you can see the growth on the wall itself.
Okay.
In the basement.
All right, with the issues on that building, I think we ought to surplus that to the school.
Yeah, that's what somebody told me today. Said the health department isn't very healthy right now. I said, yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, the EOC. So that's why when we meet with the budget, we're meeting in another area. We're meeting, I think, at the extension agents conference room, because we're not going to meet in the EOC, because I've closed that down since then. The other thing was the public safety we addressed, in Mr. Toth and Mr. Collins, as far as the radio committee had met and had some more conferences with Mr. Hyde, and I'll leave that if they want to talk about that, and if they don't, I'll leave that up to them. But that's the two public safety issues we've been dealing with this month.
Okay. Y'all got anything?
Yes, I have a question on the hazardous mitigation for EOC.
Mm-hmm.
What is the result of the same in the treasurer's office with the mold issue down there?
Well, right now, we tackled, that's going to come back, but I think, I can't remember the name of the company, Environmental, is Nick still here? He's gone. Nick, what's the name of that company that worked down there in the treasurer's office?
It was HDH Technical.
Okay.
The ones who did the air sampling, and they'll be here on Saturday doing the sampling as well.
Okay.
All right.
But that's a temporary fix, Ms. Norton. That's going to be another problem for it if we don't address it. So.
Yeah. But we are addressing it.
Yeah, we are addressing it. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Bowen, I apologize. I missed the I-4. It's on the motion sheet for the
I'm sorry.
for the lead
I
pay.
didn't have that in front of me.
All right. Yeah, because it was in front of me. That's why you didn't have it.
Sorry.
All right, board members, I need a motion for I-4 on the leave pay for Ms. Flippin.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Oh, I need the motion read, please.
I move that the Board of Supervisors amend this vote November 16, 2023 regarding the payout of only 18 days of accrued annual leave for Ms. Rita Flippin to include her remaining 72.8 days of accrued unpaid annual leave, a final payout from the county's fund in the sum of $12,975.87 will complete the full payout of her originally requested 90.8 days of accrued unpaid annual leave as Ms. Flippin's pay rate as of the date of Ms. Flippin's retirement.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? There you go. All right.
This puts her in line with some of the other staff members that had left. This was how everybody, these things were handled.
Yes.
To note, the Personnel Committee, John and myself, are working on procedures and policies, updating those and leave payout as part of that.
Okay.
All right.
Since we jumped around a little bit, Mr. Chairman, do we need to go back and address anything to the radio?
That's what I was going to say. Do you or Mr. Collins have anything to tell
I had a good meeting with Mr. Collins and Mr. Hyde this week in discussing the potential moving forward. We're trying to find some funding. Don't listen to the $18 million that's available. I promise it ain't there. But in our discussion, we had thought about the possibility of taking the school out of the high-tech equation. Nothing against the school at all, but a little bit to make it affordable to cover a whole lot versus not being able to do it at all for the next 12, 24, 36 months means a whole lot to all of us board members. And Bill's a numbers guy, so we're working on them numbers and we're gonna see what we can come up with as a board.
Yeah. You want to speak? Come on.
I thought you was buying cattle.
Like I said, I think we will tag team, and I just didn't want to miss that opportunity. You said, you said what I was going to say, but I just wanted to mention that I think the maintenance fee, we're looking at bringing that down as well.
Yeah, maintenance
Well,
fee.
you pull 54 radios, then.
Right.
I want to see that maintenance.
You
fee
got the
come down
numbers and stuff?
substantially.
So we do have Ms. Jiggets, and I talked to her right after you asked for the request, and I'd said, you got the numbers, you got the RFP, so let's go back in the RFP. Let's take a look. Let's see if we bring those non-public safety radios out, see how does that impact the maintenance fee, but more importantly, how does that impact the total cost? So I think there's two different figures we're looking at maybe reducing. And on top of that, so she started doing that, and if you would, we can give her just a second, a minute, just to tell you kind of the items that probably can come out. And I also called the grant people today. And then, as I mentioned to you once before, I think in a previous meeting, maybe a committee meeting, that the grant does have an extension option, but I did confirm today that they don't want to do a year. They have months, and it has to be approved. But we do believe, and I talked to Ms. Jiggets tonight because she deals with the people at the COPS grant on some other localities. She's familiar with that. She said that the extensions usually are granted if you've got a good justifiable reason to do that.
If you've ordered and you're waiting for delivery and
Right.
things like that.
I think
I do want to understand, want the citizens to understand something you just said. Non-public safety.
I picked up on that too.
If you're a
Non-public
first
safety.
responder, you will have a new radio.
Yes, that's right. It would not impact, I think the way we looked at it, Mr. Toth, Mr. Collins, and Mr. Bowen, and myself, is we talked about we do not want to impact fire, EMS, law enforcement, their public safety. So we're looking at
And
other
nor do we
things.
want to impact them, but Mr. Collins brought something up really good to me. He said, if there's a resource officer in every school, which there is, I believe, isn't it, Sheriff? And this thing does get built and off the ground, he's got a whole lot of technology in his hand.
Yeah, oh yeah, with
Opposed
these new
to
radios. Oh yeah.
Right, so it's in the school.
It's a lot of technology in your hand. Can we have Ms. Jiggets mention a couple things to you on how much we're talking about reducing?
Mr.
I
Chairman?
think
got
we've
some
some
numbers?
I think we've got some ballpark figures.
I
for you.
think we can probably give about 5 minutes
Yeah,
to this.
yeah, well, maybe even less. So, Ms. Jiggets,
Okay.
so I can yield to her. Believe we can give you some ballpark figures.
Thank you. And please bear in mind, this has not been vetted through the radio committee. These
Okay.
are just things that I've been looking at. We were looking at things like if we remove the non-public safety subscriber units, that could possibly about 200,000, 225, that would come down. We do have a 300-foot tower at the sheriff's office. That is something that we chose to do because it's a good potential source of income for you. If we chose to put a smaller tower there, not quite as tall, it would still meet all the criteria that we need for our radio system for our coverage, you could probably save 200 to 225,000. I do encourage you though to think about what the trade-off is. You could save that up front. You could potentially make about $1 million on that site, having a couple of renters on there, a couple of cellular companies over 14 years. So it is a bit of a trade-off. You could have more long-term revenue, but less, short-term expense. Another area, we do have some technology that I don't want to say overbuilt, but we made it more robust than necessarily we might need. So there's about 350,000 or so that I feel like we could move things around. But again, I would need to vet that with the radio committee to just ensure that they're comfortable with those things. And there's a little bit on the microwave side as well. Things like staging events. We can do all of our testing in the field and eliminate that expense. There's some maintenance that would be more inclined to be given if you had someone on site doing your maintenance. So we could cut back on that a bit. So that's on, maybe 750,000, 800,000 on the radio side that we can look at. But remember, now that we're cutting, you're actually going to be removing things. It's not just a discount. It's not just asking your vendor to come down on the dollars. You're actually giving up something. So you need to understand.
We're not
what
giving
that
anything
is.
up. We're trying to get there.
Understood. I'm just saying, from what the radio committee and the users believe they're receiving, we just need to be very careful to educate them. So
That first
they understand.
$200,000, so are you saying that's coming off of it not being for the non-public safety, not for it being in the,
Yes, that would just be removing non-public safety.
just
That would be-
200,000 off of the big figure?
Yes,
Out
we
of
did not
54
have-
bus?
Yes, we did not have that many, honestly. on
Well, I
the
thought it was like
non-public
54
safety side.
buses and then a computerized system on the principal's desk and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's only 200,000?
Yeah, 250 in that neighborhood.
Wow.
Where's the
Because what you have to remember is the units we purchase for non-public safety are already less costly than the units we purchase for public safety.
A lot
So-
less costly
A
than
lot less costly, yes.
So
they
what
are.
about the principal's handhelds and all them? They're not gonna need them, they can use what they currently got. Is that figured in the rough 200,000 as well?
All of that would be removed.
So that,
Now,
so
what
that,
we can do is keep one control station in the school. We always recommend that.
that would be the
Yeah.
officer's handheld would be
No,
the,
that would not. The
What?
officer would have the handheld because they're part of the sheriff,
Mhm.
right? What I'm talking about is one stationary unit that could be in the principal's office or administrative office. So if something were to happen in the school, they would have direct access to dispatch. But that's simply one unit, so you might be removing.
but that, no, that, you said they would have
direct
direct access to dispatch
Yes.
as with that resource officer.
Yes, absolutely.
So we don't need that. We gotta cut this thing. You know how much we was expecting to cut it?
What?
Way more than that big number you just give us
Okay.
to make it doable, because we wanna fund it and we wanna get it for them. We know they need it. But we don't wanna take all the good stuff away, but we wanna take everything out of the equation with non-public safety. We wanna take everything out of it. If we wanna add some stuff back to it, perhaps we may come back and see justifiable adding something back. But we would like a price, taking everything out of that word that you use, non-public safety, to see if we can get it funded and not need to do an extension on the grant.
Well, that number I gave you does remove everything from non-public safety.
That 200,000.
Yeah, 2 to 250. I have to, one thing that we have to do is we have to go back and renegotiate, right, with JVC Kenwood, because the numbers I'm looking at are before discount. They've given us a discount number, you know, quite a few $1 million discount.
I understand
That
they want
number's
to come
gonna
here.
change.
I understand they want to come here.
They wanna be in a locality, he said.
Yeah, they don't have another place to showcase their work, right?
Well, they're in Fredericksburg,
They're in Fredericksburg?
yes,
That's the closest?
yes.
So they like to be in Southside, huh?
I'm sure they would.
What is the savings on the maintenance for taking these out?
Very good question.
That
was hoping
would
for
not
about
be
75,000.
significant, because right now, the significant portion of your maintenance is on your infrastructure. That's what the maintenance for. Now, one thing that we could look at that's a big ticket item, is about $1 million in your maintenance, is the replacement. We call it a refresh in about year 7 or 8. And that's something that you need to do primarily because this is a IT network, right? You need to replace servers and routers. We know a server doesn't last for 15 years. It generally lasts 7 to 10 years. Routers, the Cisco routers that you use, you know, even like a Wi-Fi router
So
in
if
your
we have
home.
to finance that $1 million,
Yeah, there you
we're
go.
better off putting it in a capital improvement
You
plan and
absolutely,
saving
and,
it.
yes, and
over
we have
time.
discussed that as a group. So that is certainly something that we could do. We could take that out of what you're talking about there and put it
And just
over
put it
in a
in the
different
budget
area.
and go ahead
Absolutely.
and get a savings account going
Yes.
so we could refresh ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be borrowing and paying interest on something that you.
Sure.
That you have a plan, that
That's right.
you have time to make a plan.
That's right.
And that's where we are. The plans were made, but the funding was not.
Understood, and I'm happy to sit down and we can kind of go through things category by category and line items and see what you're most comfortable with.
Is that just the infrastructure and everything you're talking about, maintenance? How big is the subscriber unit? Will that only the 1 year warranty, or is that included in the maintenance?
Actually, we have a 5-year warranty with this particular vendor. So that will be in there. That is already in there at no additional cost. We were able to negotiate that.
That's what's gonna get broke down.
It is. You're right.
Police officers, the firefighters.
Right.
Rolling and fighting, whatever in the street.
So the nice thing about that is that warranty takes you pretty close to when you would naturally be thinking about replacing, you know, having a fund to replace radios because they age.
Is it
Radios
Miss
not gonna
Jiggins? Is that your name?
Jiggins, yes, sir.
Jiggins. Miss Jiggins, you are a consultant, correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
So you working for us or you working for them?
Absolutely.
Who's paying you?
You are.
Oh, okay, I'm curious, because I'm new to this, I don't know.
I work for you 100% of the time.
Okay, all right, I'm new to it, I don't know, I just wanted to ask the question. Won't try to be rude at all, I hope you didn't take it that way.
Right, so just that short discussion, we've knocked off 1.8, that's very good. So thank you for your time. This was just a meeting we had just on Tuesday, and here it's Thursday.
And you're right here, and we appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
I sort of thought you worked for us, because you wouldn't be here this quick if you didn't. Thank you, man, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Reed.
And thank you for that comment. And like I said, we aim to please. It was quick, and I was scared we wouldn't get you an answer before tonight, but we did. And we'll whittle down. Hey, while I'm at it, Mr. Chair, can I recognize our first responders here? You know, they came out.
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
They came out tonight. They've been sitting for a long time. They came here for the Hunter Buyers Resolution and the radios. We have Hunter Oaks with Blackstone Fire, Zach Bears, Deputy Chief of Blackstone, Joey Schnepp, you know, his crew fire chief, Jimmy Falwell, life member there in Blackstone, and we have Ronnie Height over with the crew police department. glad to have, did I miss anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, the guys
we got
in
three
brown.
back.
Go ahead, Sheriff Jones. I know we got Josh Havens. Josh Havens is our new 911 director.
Oh,
And buddy, who you work for? The citizens of the the county, not us, right? The citizens of the county, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you. But you are a citizen.
You got it. Now you're looking deep into it.
There you go.
All right.
Got it covered.
And buddy, you know, seriously, you never have to ask to recognize any of our first responders in any way, shape, or form. That's right.
They protect you.
Amen.
That's right. Amen. Thank y'all. Thank you all. Hey, buddy, actually, stay here. Hazard mitigation plan. Yep. I know you don't like talking.
No, I'm good. Well, considering sinus, I didn't think I'd make it this far. Okay, so before you, we have another exciting piece, and we need a vote on this tonight. We need a motion. Pretty straightforward. In let's see, it's going to be J2. You want to jump to J2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in J2, you can go on the CRC website, the Commonwealth Regional Council website, and look at this plan. I didn't want to clutter up your box, but it's Appendix F for Nottoway County. So it's got everybody else. It's got Charlotte, Lunenburg, and all the other counties that are in CRC, 2 minutes to number. But Appendix F will put you into what Crew's doing, Burkeville is doing, Blackstone, and Nottoway County. And some of the things that we mentioned are really not on this resolution, but this is all encompassing of the main things, but there are other things too. So you're not bound to just these items. That's talking about generators and various hurricane-related sirens and things. It doesn't mention the water lines, but that's okay because that's in the mitigation plan, is to upgrade water lines. The key is, you see the sentence that says it makes eligibility for grants. So what you're doing in the second whereas statement, to be eligible for certain types of federal mitigation assistance in the event of disaster of the county. And that's what we're doing. And this is a 5-year rewrite. And I've been working on it for 2 years with Todd Fortune at CRC. And the reason it's taking this long is because he's working with the other counties too. So it was a pleasure. And now FEMA has blessed it. So now we just need you to bless it. And it will be put in for another 5 years.
All right, board members, I need a motion to adopt or approve the resolution to approve local amendment to Commonwealth Regional Council's Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
I so moved.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? There you go.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. And
Yes,
that puts two major plans that we've had an opportunity to work on these last couple of years. The emergency ops plan is new, and this is new. So we'll move on to the next one.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Bowen.
Yes, sir,
Small
Mr. Chairman.
purchase
Yeah, so
procedures.
in front of you is the small, Nottoway County Small Purchase Procedures. I've used, and I appreciate a lot of the people who's helped me with this, especially Ms. Kelly and others, and following some of the guidelines that Ms. Chandler has brought to the table as well. This is just the guidelines for department heads, but always know that constitutional officers does not always have to follow our procurement, our regulations. Just know that. But they normally do and try to follow all the guidelines. So I would like to get this small purchase procurement procedure adopted, and know that if something doesn't work, I might bring it to you later on and say, I'm going to amend this. I'd like to amend this because it doesn't work. But I think we need to have something in place to follow, some type of guidelines, and stick with it.
All right, board members, you have that in your packet. If you had a chance to brief over that, do y'all have any questions? And if not, can we have a motion to approve the Nottoway County Small Purchase Procedures?
I make a motion to approve the small business purchase plan.
I'll second it.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next one will be coming to you in a couple of months. Is we're going to work on the HR procedures, I think, right, Ms. Norton?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, next item is a business license fee increase. Ms. Norton and Mr. Bowman.
I'll go ahead and address that, Mr. Bowen. Some time ago, I went to Christy Hudson in an effort to seek new sources of revenue as we're working on budgets. And we were looking at things that would provide us with new income. And we have found that business license fees have never, according to Ms. Hudson, been increased in the county. We looked at surrounding counties. Now we pay $10. Surrounding counties charge $30. The percentage rate is a little different depending on your category, but we will be bringing something to the board with Ms. Hudson's supporting documentation. She's continuing to do some further research on that. But just preliminary, we will bring into the county about $179,000 in additional revenue. And it's not hitting the taxpayers for real estate and personal property. It's going to make us more even field. The businesses, if you're making, I'll take one small one, $100,000 a year, it's not going to hurt you to pay $40 more in an effort for us to collectively work together. And if you take that amount over time, 15 years, that's over $1.7 million in extra revenue. That's debt settle for a project that we may want to work on. So we're continuing to work on that. Ms. Hudson asked for further research, so we're going to bring that back to the board soon, hopefully in April, so we can get that started for the new budget year.
Okay. Mr. Bowen, do you have anything to add to that?
No, sir. I'm hoping we can get that into the budget, worked into the budget, but there's a lot of people got to do a lot of work to figure out those numbers. So.
Gotcha. All right. Mr. Collins, did you want to have anything on the jail's finances?
No.
Okay. The literacy board appointments under J6. As you can see in your board package there, it's appointments to the Literacy Program Board of Directors. And if y'all have had a chance to read over that, you see that there is an appointment process.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend if we put up this for a motion for a vote, you just do all the names for the nominator of the board for the 2-year term, do a motion on that one.
Yes, sir.
And then you with me on the board seats. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
All right, board members, I would need a motion for to approve for another 2-year term, Ms. Sheila Harper, Kathy Bushbell, Etta Neal, Esther Hudson, and Errol Lund.
I'll make that motion.
Yep. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, there you have that. And here I need a motion to move from an alternate to fill 1 seat on the board. Oh, that's none, I'm sorry. Reading the wrong thing. Nominated to fill 2 board seats, Miss Ellie Watson and Janet Malin.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And on the back of that sheet, board members, you'll see to accept the removal, whether it be resignation or expiration of term, Gail Silvasi, Joe Silvasi, and Alice Burkhead. I need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have that. Okay. The surplus vehicles.
Mr. Chairman, we're looking for a motion to surplus these vehicles as written in front of you. If you can wrap it all in one motion, be fine. I think the plan is to, after we surplus them, we put out some kind of sealed bid and try to get some funding on them.
One discussion point. Number item 11 and 12. Shane can apply for abandoned titles so that we're not selling something without a title.
Correct.
Because it would increase the value a significant amount with the
Help.
title, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
So
All right.
if you could direct Shane to apply for abandoned title.
Okay.
And he needs to do that like tomorrow, because then you have a 30-day period. There's a website that they sit on.
That's right.
With the VIN, and then you can get your title, and then we'll have a more valuable.
All right, so board members, right now, we're going to exclude number 11 and 12, and I will read these briefly for you. I would need a motion to surplus the vehicles. Number 1, 1995 Ford, 4-door sedan. Number 2, a 2007 Ford, 4-door sedan. Number 3, a 1990 International tanker truck, blue and white, a blue cab, white tank. Number 4, a 1997 Freightliner dump truck. Number 5, a 2002 Dodge pickup. Number 6, 1995 Dodge pickup. Number 7, 1968 Ford pickup. Number 8, a 2009 Ford pickup. Number 9, 1990 International truck. Number 10, a 1995 International truck, All of those have the VIN numbers available should the public or anyone else so be curious about that. I would need a motion to approve surplus for those 10 identified.
I'll make the motion to approve the surplus of those 10 identified items that you just did.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
How are they surplus, Mr. Chairman? Are they auctioned? Are they advertised? Is it an internet bidding process?
He's going to do a sealed bid.
Sealed bid?
From my understanding, that's what they've done in the past.
Sealed bid,
Yeah.
okay.
There's also, the jail was putting things on gov deals. Remember he was talking about that,
Yeah.
Shane? He was,
You want to try something like that too, maybe? Experiment with it?
All right, board members,
Is
if
that
y'all,
going to interfere with the sealed bid?
no,
I have to,
because
It
people
would
just
have to be
making
greater,
offers.
it'd have to be greater than the sealed bid to even qualify to get it.
Correct.
Okay.
you can also note on those sites, I believe, Mr. Collins, that you've got a sealed bid going locally or something like that, or advertised
And it may
locally.
be that you put the big internationals on gov deals and the,
yeah, I don't know how they've done it before. I
That's
gotta look
right.
at that. That was new to me.
Okay. All right,
you just want to get more in front of more customers.
that's right.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. All right.
All right, now, we've got, on the consent agenda, I need a motion to accept the February budget expenditures, all funds, the budget adjustment to the sheriff's office of $13,610.98, and a budget adjustment of Lambertus grant of $5,000.
I so move.
All right, can I get a second to accept the recommendation?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Those are taken care of. Correspondence items, board members, if, do y'all have any questions or comments on the correspondence item?
I do.
Okay.
6th column, PO number, that's empty. Could we possibly get employee initials in that column so that we can see who's,
Which item are you on, Mr. Collins?
any of them, any page, you'll see column 6 is blank, PO number.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I mean, which section are you in? Oh,
It's expenditures.
Yeah, but where's it at?
under L what?
K.
K2.
Oh, K2.
Yeah, K1.
Gotcha, okay.
So say that again, Mr. Collins, I'm
So
sorry.
in the PO number, if you had a job identification number, let's say you were working at an address and you were a contractor, you'd go over and say, this is job 1, 2, 3, 4 that I bought this material for. That's not the case with this, so we don't have a job number, but I believe you can put the employee's initials in there when they order
Right.
something.
Okay.
That's just gonna give us some tracking, see who's spending.
Okay.
And our new procurement policy will help address this. Because there's procedures in place.
This is just one of the ways that you keep track of your funds and make sure.
Right.
That's right, I
Do
agree.
do initials instead of lieu of, like the state does PO numbers.
Right.
Right, I got you.
Or you could give if you didn't want to put the employee's initials on it, you could give them a number.
Yeah, give him a number, and then you know
Steve,
which
you'd
number
be
goes back to.
You're number 1.
You're number one. Have you ever been number one?
Yes,
Never.
yes, ma'am, Ms. Norton?
Chairman, I know from being present at school board meetings, they had a school board member sit with the people not the staff to approve the consent, approve the bills. Who approves or reviews the invoices here? Just one person? And are they tracking to see if it's procured
Wouldn't that be something which your treasurer would handle?
No, not invoices. She collects the revenue.
So you're saying when you, so it all depends, I guess, how much money it is. So if it goes over the 5,000 mark, you're gonna have so many bids, and then that's all put in one package, Ms. Norton. You know, but that's not what you're asking.
When it hits our consent calendar, that means that it's been billed and invoiced.
Right.
And we're getting ready to pay it or have paid it. So who's reviewing those invoices to see if they're accurate?
Who writing the check, Ms. Norton?
Well, I would say that, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that would be our financial director. Right.
Or Logan, perhaps?
Right, well, yeah, because she's accounts payable.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so you just want to know the
So
who.
you have multiple staff members that'll,
Right.
that are signing off on that. And that goes back to what you're saying,
You just
Mr.
want to be sure
Collins.
it's looked at.
Yeah.
If we see something here and it's employee number 5, we can ask Mr. Bone, check with employee number 5 and see what this was.
Right,
That's right.
okay.
I've got another question, then I'll be done. Page 5. Who can call Sands Anderson? Who's allowed?
Anybody can call after they go through me, or I get permission from the board. So if the board gives me direction, I may ask, Ms. Kelly, do you mind calling San Anderson
There's
about
a
this
control
issue?
on Sans Anderson.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Every one of those, and we're experimenting out now. We've been trying other, you're gonna see Ken Waldron come into place. We utilize Gary Elder, and Gary Elder, yes, has called me, and he's actually worked on and wants to still set up a meeting with maybe you and the chair and the vice chair, and so he's very much interested.
Okay, great. Good news. Good news.
There's some guy in Richmond right now cringing. Did I say that out loud?
We owe it, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make one comment. We owe it to the citizens to be good stewards of their money. And when you're spending $132,000 so far on this consent
Well,
calendar.
that's got some 23 in
lawyer
it.
fees,
That's got some 23 in
it's
it.
still less, but we owe it to our citizens to do our due diligence and seek other avenues.
Oh, absolutely, but we can't control who sues the county and for what
But just like I had mentioned,
ridiculous reasons.
look, just like I mentioned tonight, Ms. Norton, when we talked about the termination of the lease, that had to be done in a legal.
Exactly.
It had to be. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just want people to know we're not call them. I think Mr. Roy, Chairman Roy, used the term speed dial. We're not speed dialing.
That's right.
Okay.
The mindset has changed. We're not picking the phone up for HR matters and small things.
That's right.
It's big stuff.
That left with the last administration.
Okay, so yeah, real quick, I got the second round of interviews for the maintenance lead tech, Miss Shannon Reed and Sheriff Jones. He may not know that yet, but we got round two. I got 4 more people that we like to interview and to help with maintenance. And you can look around in this room and see the maintenance been lacking somewhat. Look at the paint peeling around on the corners. Anyway, so there's little things like that we didn't really pick up. So still working on that. And this is a maintenance lead tech. I did put an RFP out to different financial institutions for a line of credit for $1.2 million to fix some of the things around the courthouse. Mr. Bowles, who maybe he's still sitting over there, I didn't bring that with me, but he's starting a book so you can understand the things that need to be repaired and what's causing damage and that type of thing. And I appreciate his help throughout this process. Speaking of him, he's also helping me and us to get out the relationship with ABM. That's that Energy Performance Project. So more probably to come with that. He spent most of the day, or maybe a couple of days, walking around with them and showing the things that still needs to be repaired. And this is because I don't have this maintenance lead tech. Also, Mr. Bowles has been helping me with. We had a sewer problem. Our sewage actually goes and pumps and it goes over to the power line and it goes to a drain field. And our neighbors has been very patient, and we've had a company working on that for today and probably more days to come. But we're gonna get that rectified pretty soon, hopefully, and then get that on some type of preventive maintenance schedule so somebody can be checking that at all times so it don't happen again. Also, we got multiple roof leaks and HVAC leaks, and that's going to be all summed up so you can get an idea. Here was the big meeting, and then I'll finish up. Had a good meeting with Judge Teefee, who had given us a warning letter back in, I think it was March of 2023. He actually walked around with me and the sheriff, and I showed him some of the things we're trying to do. And I just got to make this comment to you and the public. Some things can be repaired to improve public safety in and around the historical county courthouse, but the logistics necessary of assuring fair and safe trials is very, very challenging in an old building. So with that said, tomorrow I'm meeting with outreach rep of Senator Warner, a gentleman named Cole. I didn't write down his last name. He's meeting me in the morning. And if there's anything you want us to tell about, to ask Senator Warner, call me tonight, text me in the morning, and give me your thoughts. But anyway, so that's it for my report.
Board members, y'all have any questions to Administrator Bowen about his report?
I do.
Okay?
Some of the maintenance you just mentioned, the little stuff like the paint right here.
Right.
Is that, Mr. Collins, available through the jail to get people on work?
Probably not in the courtroom.
It used to be.
I'm in this room itself because of security, but they were working on the site out here
I saw them
last.
yesterday.
Oh, you mean specifically to this
Yeah,
room?
we're doing,
Okay.
so we are doing stuff on it, and I think we'll start painting guardrails and handrails and stuff like that. So we are gonna try to utilize them to a larger capacity and then just cutting grass and weed eating.
Right, those guys, many of those guys enjoy getting out to do that.
The grounds look much better than they had previously.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I've relinquished that to Mr. Shane Hawkins. So as I talked to y'all before, I'm looking at restructuring and possibly Mr. Shane, or we haven't got there, but he may be the director for the whole maintenance from LRA and over here, and so we can, we don't have to hire another position.
The second part of my question,
Okay.
what was the purpose of meeting the senators?
Well, they reached out to us. I think they just want to know how can they help us, and I figured y'all gonna call me and say we need more money. So,
Yeah.
is that a fair statement?
Yes,
Very
sir.
fair statement.
Radios and public safety.
Court compliant,
Okay.
security compliant.
You give me $2 million a year, I'll borrow the money.
Okay. Anyway, I think that's why I haven't. I hope y'all don't come to that meeting because it could get out of hand. But just no. If you're welcome to it, hopefully he's gonna be here around 10. And so if you want to come in and stop and talk.
What day is it?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay, I'm free at 10.
Somebody go let a cow out.
I won't be here, sir, I promise you.
One of them people walk around 2 o'clock in the morning and let a cow out.
Don't give them no ideas, Steve.
Oh, Lord.
That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for giving me that time.
All right, board members, we're going to move on to board members' comments. Vice Chairman Collins.
I do have another fact about the jail. And I had shared with y'all previously that Nottoway was contributing $2 million, which was more than any other county. We are actually utilizing inmate time more than any other county also. There you go.
Two sides to the story.
There's a fact.
All
That's
right,
an
Mr.
interesting
Ingram.
fact.
I appreciate everybody being here tonight, and I want to say citizens need to give us a chance. We're working as hard as we can. We're trying to do what we need to do at the lowest possible cost to the citizens. And sometimes people get frustrated and they get upset and they think we're not doing anything, but they don't know really the conversations we're having to try to save them. I'm sure they heard some here tonight about, what we're trying to do and get the job done that the county needs, but in the lowest possible cost that we can to the taxpayers.
Amen with that, brother. Amen. Ms. Norton.
Couple of updates. We'll be bringing next month a recommendation to the library board. We have potentially found someone. She's going to try the meeting first. Also, I was privileged to attend the PSR meeting the other night. Most of y'all know Jordan Miles. Jordan is moving on to Washington, D.C. We will be having a employee awards banquet next Friday night. I'll be attending, but they have a really exceptionally good program. I was also honored by Arlene Robertson to be nominated as the program chair for PSR. Also just diligently working with the rest of you all on budget preparation, and I'm really happy to see, and the public, I think, is happy to see how engaged this board is over those years past, how actively engaged, because we do care, and we are asking questions, and it might be boring, but that's our job, is to the details, not the drama.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Norton. Mr. Toad. Let's hear the comedy hour, brother.
Reintegrate Mr. Ingram. If they would just give us some time, but I can assure of each and everybody who voted for me, I appreciate their vote. The county does not have enough money to pay me to want to sit on this board. It's not about the money at all. And I will say that it's it's just like anything you put effort toward, the more effort and commitment. I heard one of these board members say that, the truth be known, if you want to give it a full commitment, it's a full-time job.
That's right.
And it's very you go down the road and you want to think about one thing and you can't get something else off. And 1 minute you think you're going to do one thing and the next minute that ain't going to work because of this. So it just depends on how involved you want to be. Do you want to put all the burden on one individual or one office, or do you want to spread it out and let all of us take a little bit of the burden and do what's best for the citizens and listen to our citizens? And no time during this meeting and any other meeting will I ever try to throw anybody under the bus that approaches that podium. I'm very appreciative for our Commonwealth attorney. I didn't want anybody to seem that I was going after the sheriff's office or anything. I was just bringing some concerns of some citizens specific to my road that they asked me about all the time. And that instant, in fact, did happen at at our property. I'm not a my person, but everybody, not just Nottoway County, it's the adjacent counties, they having the same trouble. It's a big, big problem. And report things when you see it. If the person's walking again and you say, I called the sheriff's office yesterday and they still walking, as the Commonwealth attorney said, and the sheriff, it's not illegal to walk down the road. It's very illegal to step the foot across your line if you got a trespassing sign up. It's very illegal to take one of your possessions that you work for. That's very illegal, and they need to answer for that. Thank you, board members, for putting up with my stupidity. I appreciate it.
Stupidity is well received, brother.
And more will be given.
There you go. Send it on, man. We love it. Well, and just to reiterate some of the thoughts that have been mentioned here tonight. Number one, I was proud to sit beside my friend, Mr. Abbott, at that joint school board meeting, but even more proud of the conduct, the civility, the stability presented by both of those boards with all the elected officials. The goal is clear from that new school board and this board that it's about working together. There's no soapboxes anybody's jumping on. And the ugliness that gets portrayed out in the public and sometimes at this podium, whether it's justified or not, is still ugliness. And part of the reason people say, well, how come nobody runs? How come nobody runs? It's because of that ugliness. The way supervisors, constitutional officers, and I'm not saying you can't hold them accountable, but there's a way to hold anybody accountable for what they've done, but doing it in an appropriate manner. Because every time there's an attack launch, you got to remember, there's not an elected official in this county, any other county, state, or across the country that does not have a family that it affects. Some of them have businesses that it affects. And when you start affecting businesses and families, what are you doing to your community? You are absolutely tearing it down.
Pulling it down.
And it gets portrayed out in the media. For what? Ratings? Sales? But it is what it is. I see now that that school board, these elected officials, this board of supervisors, is more than any time I've ever paid attention. It's geared towards the citizens of this county, and it's letting I'll call it the bow that has spewed out of a couple of people's mouths constantly and repetitively. They're letting it run off their back. I applaud each and every one of you elected officials.
I'd like to say amen, brother.
Yes, sir. But more importantly, I appreciate the citizens that have stood up and said enough's enough. Y'all get the phone calls. I know you have. I've talked to each and every one of you. That how sick the citizens are of hearing one or two's garbage and unnecessary attacks because of a personal agenda. If you come at me, that's fine. I'll deal with it. I'll say what I said at the beginning of this year, and it's been asked here again tonight. Give these electeds a chance to get their feet up on them. This budget is one of the most important things this county can do. And we have to get a budget adopted because that affects everything we will do from the middle of the year to the rest of the year. I love each and every one of you. Even the haters, I love each and every one of you. And may God bless you all. And in the meantime, we need a motion to go into closed session. Thank you all. Someone want to read this motion? Right here. Now, I don't know what language it's in. I ain't got my glasses on.
I move that the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia adjourn into closed meeting pursuant to Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A1, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, promotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific employees of any public body specifically related to personnel matters now pending in county administration.
All right, can I get a second?
I will second that motion.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, board members, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are going into closed session. Be sure you take the microphones off and do it. I need a motion to come back into open session.
I'll make the motion. Come
Can I
back
get a
in open
second?
session.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We're now in open session again. Need a motion to certify, please.
I'll make the motion.
What? You gotta read the motion.
Oh, that'd be.
Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this Board of Supervisors that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in this closed meeting, to which this certification resolution applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board of Supervisors. And 3, no action was taken in the closed meeting regarding the items discussed. Second provided by, so need a motion? I made that motion.
I'll second it.
Let me see your paper right there. Mr. Bowen, I need to do a roll call.
Okay, everybody heard the motion, and I got a second, probably second. Mr. Collins, you so certify?
I do.
Mr. Ingram, you so certify?
Certify.
Mr. Toth, you so certify?
I do.
Ms. Norton, you so certify?
I do.
Mr. Roy, do you so certify?
I do.
5-0 count, Mr. Chairman.
All right, board members, at this moment, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by standing up.
I'm supposed to, where's that checkoff thing at? Oops.
No, the one I gave you.